Yes, people, big up to everyone. Hope you all are doing well this Sunday. Please let me know whether the sound is coming through all good. Hope everyone's all right this Sunday evening. Hope you've all had a good weekend, rested up, ready for the week ahead if you are going back to work or whatever you're doing. But wish you the best nonetheless. Let me just greet people who are in the chat. Manchester boy, big up, bro. Hope you're doing well. Team didn't do so well on the weekend, but it's all good. We still move. I still got you guys' favorites for the title. But it's actually been a good weekend of sport, depending on who you follow or what you follow, shall I say. It's been England won in the cricket T20, if anyone follows cricket at all. Beat Pakistan. Formula One. British 1-2. Mercedes. George Russell. Lewis Hamilton. So it's it's been a pretty good weekend. It's been a pretty good weekend. So again, please let me know how the sound is coming through the chat. Let me know if you can hear me. I can hear myself, but I just want to make sure that I'm coming through okay before we begin proceedings. Now, before I get into the main topic of the stream and the reason why I put this stream together after listening to KB, I just wanted to sort of just start off with a couple of things, really, because today's Remembrance Sunday, and I just wanted to give my thoughts on the day and just what it means to me, because I hear a lot from our people, ethnic minorities, in regards to Remembrance Day, Remembrance Sunday. People don't care about, wearing the poppies because of what it may represent to them and all those kind of other things. And I just wanted to start off by saying this. For me, Remembrance Day has got nothing to do with the context of the war. For me, Remembrance Day, which is where I will never disrespect it, at least on my end, or say knowingly disrespect it, is because what it represents to most people is it's not about the politicians, it's not about the reasons for going to war. It's the fact that innocent people, died in that war. A lot of them soldiers, a lot of them civilians as well. Now, I was watching a film the other day. I highly recommend you watch it, called All Quiet on the Western Front. It's a German film set in World War One, which is even better because I only seem to hear World War Two films. But it was a film in which gave the Germans' perspective on World War One from a soldier's perspective, that is. And it just goes to show you that a lot of on either side that you were on, the German side, whether you were on the side of the French, the British, um, whatever side that you were on, both of it was pretty much the same. You had young kids being drafted up who, let's be honest, they had absolutely no business, or had no thought about this nation here, this war here. They were just innocent people who were drafted up to the war, and they got selected and they did the thing, which is they fought for their countries. Just like if there was a world war to break out now, I know we had the Russian Ukraine thing, but I'm talking about if it was really like it was in those times, a lot of us fit, able men would be actually going to war. And even if we have absolutely no beef, no quarrel with whoever it is that we're going up against, we would have to do our duty and we would have to go out there and would have to um, fight for your nation. And there were people there, if you watched a lot of the films, if you listen to the literature, they didn't want to do that. They thought, no, I'm not fighting for this war. This is a politician's war. It's got nothing to do with me. And they were killed right on the spot. So when I think of today, when I think of Remembrance Sunday, I never really think about, or what it's thought, or how I think about it is about the soldiers, the people who died, innocent people who died, those who didn't get to see their loved ones ever again, those who said goodbye, thinking they may come back and didn't come back ever again, people who just, let's be honest, they would have been regular smuggler plebs, even worse than that in the eyes of a lot of the bourgeoisie that's still around today in the House of Parliament. A lot of it will be there for these war generals, these politicians who just wanted to extend their territories at the cost of what? At the cost of whom? So a lot of people who, let's be honest, they would have had absolutely no issue, no beef with any of it. So when I hear a lot of people disrespect to Remembrance Sunday, I always think, are people really honest? I mean, this is my take on this is the reason why, again, the poppies are there for. It's not about the war itself. It's about what people died for. And that's really where, when it comes to me, Remembrance Sunday, I always pay respect, honor where it's due. I don't see it as a way of trying to almost point score when it comes to, Europeans went to war, they're the ones and all this kind of other stuff. I get it. I understand that other people have different viewpoints, but for me, no. I always will say this. war is never pretty, war is never nice, and at the end of the day, innocents are going to get killed in the crossfire in whatever war that you see fit. So for me, when it comes to these type of days, it's never about the politics, even though war is political. Funny enough, it's all about the people who died in that war and the people who gave their lives. Maybe it's something that they believed in, maybe something that they probably didn't even have an absolute clue what was even about. Because let's be honest, it's not until like 30, 40, 50 years later then we actually realize sometimes the true intention of what took place. And you're just there taking all the information because they didn't have social media back then. There was none of this, you know, alternative media that was around that could tell them, this is what they're really doing, this is what they're planning. There's none of this. The conspiracy theories would have been ones who were shouting on the terraces. That would have been the alternative media, but they would have been probably seen as nut jobs. They would have been easily ushered out. It's not like it is today where you have a wealth of information. So yeah, for me, when it comes to this day, I'll always say I always pay respects to those who died. Because again, another thing, it's not as if it was only Europeans who died. Other people died. Our people died. Our people who fought in there, my ancestors who fought there. I know my family members have been in the army, my uncles and whatnot. They've been in the army. They've told me these things. And it's like our people have fought in this war. So it's not as if it's just something which we should detach ourselves from completely. It's something which we are really right there and present. Maybe not as present, I will grant you that, but we are still there present on the battle lines. So for those who are dissenting about that, there are black poppies out there. There are websites out there where you can buy your black poppy. So you can make sure that you feel more included. But for me, again, the red signifies the bloodshed. So that's all it needs for me. But that's my thoughts on Remembrance Sunday, people. So that's how I see it. That's how I'll continue to see it. No difference. It doesn't matter about the politics. The people died. Innocent people died. Young as 16, probably even 15-year-olds who looked older, didn't have a clue about anything. Probably was a farmer's boy, just working on the farms. Probably a mechanic's boy or a welder. These are the type of people who went to war. They weren't the people who were carrying out these mass conspiracies or mass white supremacist theories. No, man, no, man, no, man, no, man, no, man. Bruh, that was in the offices. That was in the office. What's that famous catchphrase? The Battle of Waterloo was won by the people in Eton, or said those in the offices of Eton. I mean, come on, that's yeah, that's how it is. But let me just say what's up to people in chat. Thank you for joining. Please make sure you hit that like, subscribe if you are new, share the stream. Sam, welcome. Yeah, absolutely. Great book, All Quiet on the Western Front. And again, it was done into a film, which I don't know if you watched it, but I don't know how good of an adaptation it is off the book. But I definitely would recommend everyone to check that out. And I always love films which are foreign films which aren't dubbed. I was watching on Netflix and they initially dubbed it, but I was like, no, I don't like that. I always have to have it subtitled. It just gives that extra little bit of authenticity that I love when it comes to foreign films. I hate films that are dubbed. I don't know if it's just me. Let me know. Do you guys like you guys and girls like foreign films that are dubbed, or do you like it when it's got subtitles at the bottom? Some people might not like reading, but for me, it just gives that more authenticity, and you don't get to see the lips moving and the audio is all over the place when it's dubbed. I don't like that. For me, it doesn't feel genuine to me. So I always love it when films, if they're foreign, of course, if they're in original language, but you got the subtitles, because sometimes you also miss the context of what is said once you dub it, because certain languages don't quite translate the same. They have different words, and a word here, a word there can really change the powerfulness of what they're trying to say. But yeah, Eunice, how's it going? Hope you're doing well this evening. KB, big up, man, big up, man. Yeah, this stream is the stream is inspired by you, my bro. So when I open up the panel, I hope to get your thoughts on a few things. I don't know if you missed anything, because normally when you do live streams, I don't know if it's the same with you, but there's always things I'm like, oh, I should have said that. Oh, I forgot to say that. Or I forgot, I missed this point, but it is what it is. So big up, bro. Big up, bro. Fiona, evening. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. Ephraim Mackworth, big up, bro. Hope you're doing well. So to the first point of call, because I want to there's a couple of things which have just been I've not talked through, and I wanted just to talk it through on this Sunday, because I've been sort of slacking on the live streams, and it's going to lead me to a wider point about the UK scene and how we are seen as a whole and what we need to do to really get ourselves on that front line. But to the first topic, or should I say the second mini topic, Elon Musk. Now, we all know Elon Musk is taking over Twitter. Now, at first, I thought it was just a joke to try and dive their Twitter share prices down. I didn't think it was going to go through it because I didn't think logistically the finances. I didn't think the Twitter is a platform really where I thought, is he really going to be able to make the kind of um, dividends, revenues, profits based on that kind of platform? Based on what I hear people talk about the platform, I thought, what's this boy doing? But no, lo and behold, after all that mess that took through a few weeks, so I think it was few months ago, he has now taken over Twitter. Now, for some reason, I don't know what it is with Elon Musk. I think this is a favoritism thing. But there are situations where whatever he does, people just seem to just whatever he does, people just seem to be, for lack of a better term, because the things that has been going on, and I have to compare it to the situation that took place with Kyrie Irving, because with Elon Musk, he's considered the genius and what he's been doing. And I'm going to go through what he's been doing if those who don't know. So let me just share my screen because this is what's killing me today when it comes to Elon Musk and how, again, linking back to like Remembrance Sunday and everything like that at all, and how it's really the little people who get shit on. All the other big wigs I couldn't really care about because they get their massive payouts. But it's the little wigs, it's the little people who people seem to forget about, whereas we seem to fawn over multimillionaire celebrities and vice presidents and directors and all those kind of people who likely get a massive payout because they're firing or their package when they get released is so much different. But here it is again. This is based on what he's looking to implement. So no free food, 80-hour work weeks. Elon Musk tells Twitter employees in first meet after massive layoffs. So point check number one. The first time he came in there, he pretty much fired all his senior staff, which I'm like, okay, fair enough. He didn't like the direction of the company. All right, cool. Everyone seems to love it. Oh, Elon Musk is really doing something wonderful. He's really doing something wonderful. All right, cool. So what's his next point of action? Now, in his first interaction, days after 3,700 staffers were unceremoniously laid off. Now, keep this in mind now. I don't know if you check this out, but a lot of staff were told, it wasn't even 24 hours, I think, if I remember correctly, that they were going to leave the company. So a lot of times when you're going to get released or fired, you get a notice period, or you go through situations of disciplinary procedures. You go through the work, especially over here, at least for UK employee law. But nope. He completely just basically, if you were by the end of 4 o'clock, by the end of that day, if you still had access to whatever systems that you logged on normally, you were considered cool. You're staying in. However, if you didn't get access, that means you're fired. That's the kind of situation that took place. Now, again, everyone seems to be sucking up to Elon Musk. I'm like, listen, these weren't the people who, in my opinion, no, not in my opinion, these were just regular people who were working to the remits that they were told by the directors and the senior staffers. They weren't these people who were, they're the reason for cancel culture. And this is why I don't know what it is with people, but I'm telling you, people's hatred for a company shouldn't rub onto people who work for that company. Because I work for companies where ultimately the space that they operate in isn't the most, doesn't get the best reputation. But that's not the fault of necessarily myself. It's just we work in an environment, in an arena, which unfortunately happens to provide the services that people don't think they should have to pay for or go through certain steps. Twitter is one of them. Now, let's just read this. So in just 2 weeks of taking over Twitter for 44 billion, damn. Elon Musk has put a stop to working from home, fired some 50% of the staff, sacked top execs. In a recent meeting, Elon Musk said that bankruptcy was a possibility if Twitter doesn't start generating more cash. So, okay, cool. There's an issue at hand, which definitely the people at the top have been slacking, not been doing anything that they should be doing. So, warning them of difficult times ahead. Elon Musk also announced some changes that are forthcoming for Twitter employees. So, after firing pretty much 50% of your staff, this is what you can do for the remainder of the staff. Can't work from home. All right, fine. No free food, fine. Now you got 80-hour work weeks. That's pretty much double the working weeks. Now, I've been in situations. I don't know if anyone else has been in situations like this, where you have a new boss, and what they do is they think they're being slick and being smart by saying, "Oh, we're gonna do this," but you actually just cutting off your nose to spite your face. In which not only are you gonna fire half of your staff, now you're gonna make the rest of the staff work twice as hard to make up for the 50% staff that have been fired. And I guarantee, I don't think it says it in this article, those staff that have stayed on, they're likely to get pay freezes or pay decreases. So now you have a situation where innocent people, let's be honest, who they don't have what the top execs have in terms of they have like 401k over here, or their massive final salary pensions, their massive, nice gold plated payoffs when they get sacked. They're just regular people who just went into Twitter, wanted to work in a tech space, wanted to do what they needed to do, and guess what they've been met with? This BS. But yet people on Twitter or people on social, like, yeah, Elon Musk, yeah. I'm like, what? Let's continue. Remaining Twitter employees who wish to see themselves working at Twitter in their future will have to comply with the changes or else resignation accepted. So pretty much do what I say or you can get lost. All right, fine. On no work from home announcement, a person familiar with the meeting details quoted Elon Musk as saying, if you don't want to come, resignation accepted. Elon Musk said the days of free food and other perks are over. Elon Musk in an email late Wednesday warned employees of difficult times ahead with no way to sugarcoat the message about the economic outlook for the company. He ended employees' ability to work from home remotely unless he personally approved it. Now, Twitter has significant debt burden from the acquisition, which isn't their fault. That's Elon Musk's fault. And I've seen a pullback from some advertisers that are concerned about Elon Musk's plans for content moderation. Again, that's Elon Musk's fault. So it's similar to how the budget is going with the Conservatives. The Conservatives have pretty much caused a problem. And now the people who have to pay are the ones who didn't cause a problem, i.e., you and me. Same with Twitter here. Advertisers are pulling out because guess what? In a world where freedom of speech apparently is less moderated, you're going to get more advertisers hesitant to partner up with somebody who may have content which they don't agree with. That's life. Like you and I wouldn't partner with an organization that would harbor harmful images, harmful rhetoric about certain groups of people, including my own. Does that make me some sort of cancel culture enthusiast? No, but it's just simple business. That's what everyone does. But yet and still, guess what? Because of this stuff that Elon Musk is planning for, people are hesitant. So guess what? Who's at fault? All these employees, not just the top exec, these regular smuggler employees. So the information platform earlier reported Elon Musk's bankruptcy statement. Development has come and made a series of resignations at Twitter following Elon Musk's takeover. Yoel Roth, who oversaw Twitter's response to combat hate speech, misinformation, and spam, resigned on Thursday. A day earlier, Twitter's chief information security officer, Leah Kessner, said that she had resigned from Twitter. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of those people who I just mentioned there, they're the people who are going to get absolutely no problems in going to other places. It's it's a lot of the little people who've been fired and little people who have been laid off, who you're not going to hear about. The ones who are just IT techs, coders, the ones who are just these middle management, the ones who have to follow orders from their head, because this is the problem from their head downwards. But again, like a lot of things, who the ones that get sacked and fired, it's not usually their heads, or what happens is that they get their nice little payoff compensation. It's everybody else. But yet people are sucking up to Elon. It's like he can do no flipping wrong. Even though when you look at Elon Musk's track record, I'm telling you, he a man of so much promises, actual little follow through. But I'm telling you, they love Elon Musk. I'm like, bro. Same with Facebook. If anyone heard about Facebook, or shall I call it Meta, Mark Zuckerberg went ahead with his VR reality world, his virtual world, which he pumped billions into it. It's pretty much the share price have collapsed. And now guess what he has to do? He has to fire a lot of staff, because guess who's easily replaceable? You. So he's fired all this staff because of his, I don't know, pet project or his ambitions to create this whole virtual reality world that, in my opinion, is going to try and resemble that film Ready Player One. And now once it all goes, tits up, for lack of a better word, guess what? It's not the bourgeoisie that gets the brunt of it. It's the platoria. It's the regular people. So it's just like, bruh. But again, it's just like, when I compare it to Kyrie Irving, how everyone's on Kyrie Irving's side saying, oh, he's been hard done by. I mean, like, this is a multi-millionaire basketball player who all he had to do was apologize for some of the things he did. He didn't need to do much, but yet he's too stubborn to do that. But yet people acting like he's a martyr. Yet you got regular people going through regular stuff. It's like, oh man, sometimes I do really get a bit frustrated with how people see things. It's like, bruh. But I saw that on Twitter and I thought, yeah, typical. And I thought everyone's talking about, again, you can do no right from wrong for a lot of people. I'm like, fair enough then, fair enough. But I thought, let me start off by saying that from Elon Musk, he's doing a lot of culling. Time will tell in regards to what happens with Twitter. I never really mess with Twitter too much. I'll be honest with you, the space is just toxic as it is. I keep this in mind now. Twitter apparently is it's not a bashing for free speech. But yet when you go on Twitter, I'm sorry, of all the social media platforms, it's probably the least moderated, in my opinion, or the least. You can say a lot of stuff on Twitter that you can't say on other platforms without being deplatformed and moderated on. Twitter is a cesspit and a cesspool. So when you look at the social media platforms between Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of other stuff, I'm sorry, of all the ones which have the most amount of free speech, for me, Twitter seems to be the one we have the most leeway for free speech. So I don't know why people think that, these free speech aren't, or you can't say anything. I'm like, you go on Twitter, please. so many spaces and so many things I see on that platform. I'm like, bro, why am I even on this thing? That's how I see Twitter most times. So yeah. But now to the main topic, and this is the reason for the live, and I'm gonna drop the link in the chat shortly. I don't want to be up here all night. I don't want you guys to be up here all night, especially how it's a Sunday. But it's a response to a stream from KB. He's tagged in the title. So by all means, check that brother out. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Does great content. So much wider range of content. He's doing a lot of stuff now on a lot of the history, which I really mess with. So a lot of things which doesn't get talked about from our people really enough. I know the last couple of years people disagree with me over here, but a lot of things still haven't embedded in a lot of people over here where certain things like you didn't know about that, you didn't know about that. So clearly history hasn't really been embedded. I think a lot of that is to do with what I'm going to get into in this topic right now about just the UK scene as a whole. Now, I'm going to say this because oftentimes the phrase I always hear is the UK's bad vibes. So many times I always hear the UK's bad vibes, UK's bad vibes, UK's bad vibes. But translation, that means UK people are bad vibes because UK as a whole can't be bad vibes. Well, it can be. The weather is not great vibes, is it? Let's be honest. Um, so, but let's be honest, we're talking about the people. The people is bad vibes. And I'm going to say this. I'm just going to give my objective viewpoints on the whole, just the scene in general, from my perspective of being on YouTube now as a content creator, at least for like 2 years. It's flown crazily quick. But I was going to give my viewpoint on it all and talk about us over here and the things that I've seen just on my grind, getting up to where I need to get up to. I'm still not where I want to be, of course, but I'm definitely gonna keep pushing, pushing, pushing. Now, I think we are a very, very underrated group of people, if I be honest. And I think that doesn't get often talked about enough. I know we probably see ourselves in not the way how you probably think we should be seen as, but I don't know. I think we are a underrated group of people, a talented group of people. And a lot of things are overstated, but there are things which I've picked up on, which I know a lot of you have all picked up on, in which I think definitely needs to be addressed. And which I want to talk about, I suppose, in this live stream. And the first thing is the reason why I do think that we do have a bad rep about ourselves is purely because I think the scene represents a lot of our community as a whole. We're just not really quite united. I mean, what I mean by that is whenever I have a conversation, I open up the panel. One of the first things I always get pushback on is, well, we're not really a community. Are we really community outside of skin color? Are we really community? Are we really this? Are we really that? Are we really so? Already, we're divided from the get go. So already we're people who see each other as someone completely different, regardless of that we grew up, in the same places, regardless that we've all shared common experiences, regardless of how we've sort of molded ourselves together, regardless of all that kind of stuff. I know we have, different histories dating back from different um, roots and branches from the tree that is the continent of Africa. We get that. I get that. And even in the continent of Africa, you have different ethnicities, different cultures. But let's be honest, a lot of us, if we want to be truthful, are nothing but we're just British, just honestly, black British. That's the best way I can describe it. I mean, when I listen and talk to a lot of people, I listened to I read a post from Skepta, and he was talking about how he's bigging up his African roots, but even when he's growing up, it's just like he saw himself a different way, he conducts himself a different way, he barely speaks Yoruba or barely speaks Igbo, he barely speaks any of that. So pretty much, let's be honest, is pretty much anglicized for lack of a better term, to be politically correct. But let's be honest, it's just black British. So I'm like, with that being said, you will think we have gone to a stage now where we're at least a little bit more united. But every single time we talk about issues that affect us as people, the first pushback I get is from our people talking about, oh, we're not a community, we're not this. And this is for me how it all ties in line with our scene. There's no way near we're going to get, and this is what KB said, lack of homegrown support. And that's where it always starts for me. If we're not going to get the support, it's because if we don't see each other as being at least similar, then we're not going to support each other because we see each other as completely different people, even though a lot of us have grew up exactly the same way, insofar as certain things we do and certain things we don't do. Okay, fair enough then. But that's the same like anyone, even like white people. You can have two white people who have different perspectives on things based on their viewpoints. Someone could have grew up here, someone could grow up there. They have different viewpoints, but I get it. They have more white British people talking about. They have a more similar history, which they can relate to. We do have shared similar histories. I get that. It's not all the same. It's not as far back as other groups, but still, I think one of the problems that we have is we are quite fragmented. We see ourselves as not the same. So a lot of it's like, oh, why bother with this? What's the point? I'm going to go here. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to do this. Cool. I get it. But then also the same token, we can't complain that things are bad vibes if we're not going to try and correct the bad vibes. At the end of the day, it's us as a people who create the culture around us, whether it be music, film, TV, podcasting scene, all that kind of other stuff. We're the ones who create the culture around it. We're the ones who have responsibility to lift each other up. In my humble opinion, you may have different views. Again, I'm going to drop the link soon. But I think a lot of times the reason why we have a stumbling block is because we don't have that support from each other. Like, again, I hate having to compare us to it, but like over in the US, they will support each other regardless of what they say over there. From an outsider's viewpoint, they support each other hell of a lot more. They look out for each other. They make sure that their spaces are catered towards each other. They make sure that they uplift each other. They make sure as best as they can do. Because again, everyone has differences, whether it be based on um, classism, whether it be upper, middle, lower, whether it be based on stupid stuff like colorism, whether it be on, tall, short, good looking, all this kind of other stuff that people have just stupid differences on. I think they do a hell of a lot better job. I think we still not at that point. We're getting better at it, I think. And this is where sometimes when it comes to our spaces, I had to really search out for a lot of content creators because we're just not as united. Now, part of it is because I think this is a British thing. We like self promotion. Now, I'm really bad at this. I'm good. This is where I'm like, for me, this is where I'm really, really bad. But I think this is even a British thing as well, where we're quite, what's the word, reserved when it comes to a lot of things that we do. And one of the things is self promotion. Now, one of the things that we need to make sure that we're out there is, I know we don't like to see this, is out in the open, out in people's faces to know that we are here, we're doing this. This is for X, Y, Z. Therefore, if you want this, you're looking for this, here's where we are. I think a lot of times, especially the last couple of years, some of it warranted, we become a little bit too scared to put ourselves out there. We're too scared to tell us that we are here. I think a lot of us are scared to even really claim the blackness. I hear a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to be called black. I don't want to be called this. I don't want to be called that. I think a lot of us are scared of who we are, if I'll be honest. And a lot of that is down to maybe it's just the Britishness in this. We're quite reserved, but self promotion. I think a lot of us, well, this is really just me. I'm really talking to myself here, but I don't know whether anyone can relate to this or the content creators, but self promotion is really, really key. And at the end of the day, when you're in a society nowadays where, especially social media, how it's taken off, this world is really just, it's catered towards a self centered, narcissistic, clout chasing, up in your face, egotistical world. So unfortunately, people who aren't out there and out in the open, people aren't pushing out their message, people aren't out there in front and center, they're gonna unfortunately be left in the wayside. Now there are some, good things to being more reserved, which I'm going to get into, which is, I've got to be fair and objective in here because at the same token, you don't want to be egotistical. You don't necessarily want to be out there, especially when it's about dysfunction. A lot of times, and this is a lot of the problems I do have, is the people who are out there the most are the ones who do just dysfunctional, just BS. Now, some things are entertainment and I take with a pinch of salt. Don't get me wrong. But there's some things I'm like, God, come on now. Who raised you? Who raised you? But a lot of that is because of the social media culture. It's rewarding to do some stupid, like stupid trends, stupid challenges. It's rewarding to put yourself out there in a way which, gets you the clicks and views. It's clout chasing. That's essentially what it is. It rewards you for doing that. And you have to be in that mindset of promoting yourself. You have to be very self-promoting. A lot of things that I've looked at, I've had to really, really search for other content creators on this side. I've had to search for other like-minded individuals for certain things. I've had to search for events, networking groups, and you really, really have to almost search the barrel. And even in the age of information and social media, you're like, damn, it's crazy. And it's not to say that there aren't out there. It's just for a lot of people, I think it's just not at the tip of their tongue. It's a case of you have to do a lot of searching, a lot of weeding out, a lot of this, try and get to the place that you want to get to. And I'm like, for us as a scene, that really hurts us. Now you have the popular ones, and there'll always be popular ones. And KB was talking about this, in which there's a lot of favoritism and cliques. Now, to that, I'll say this. In life, I think there'll always be, it's flipping, it's ridiculous to say this because it seems like a secondary school type problem that you're thinking, oh man, I've gotten older. I shouldn't have to worry about this. But in a lot of these scenes, yeah, it's based on favoritism. It's based on, okay, do you know so and so? If you do, okay, I can get you on. Then also it's a case of, do you have any issues? Does somebody who you know have an issue with someone on their side? And it's like, if you do, then it's like, no, okay, we can't do this. Or it's a case of, oh, I don't want that person on. And it's like, I was listening on the other side about so many issues that took place, and it happens everywhere, by the way. So this is just a fact of life. It just is what it is. Now, for us, it will hurt us more because of the population size that we deal with. But, bruh, some of the things and some of the stumbling blocks that have been created because people have, and it's not even them who have an issue with somebody, it's somebody that they may have an affiliation with, and it's only on a basis of, I want your I want to gain your clout, because they have a position of extra clout, which I'm going to get into in a second about how ridiculous it sounds, but it is what it is. They won't work with another person just because, guess what, I don't want to jeopardize my position with somebody else who may potentially help me out later in the line in terms of views, subscribers, in terms of view, getting on their show, just because I've been on another person's show, just because I've been connected with somebody else, even though you have absolutely legitimately no issue with that person. And it's like, really? But that's what happens when, favoritism clicks take place. This is what happens when, and again, someone coined this term. I didn't coin this term, subscriber supremacy, especially in a space like this. What you realize is this: if you have more subs, therefore, in the eyes of people, you're always right. In the eyes of many people, that means you can do no wrong. In the eyes of people, that means we almost bow down to the Lord, Saint, whoever it is, or the Godfather, whoever it is, Queen, Mother, Woman, King, Man, King, whatever it is, we must bow down to this person because they have more subs. Therefore, A, they must be doing something right, and B, what they say is gospel. Pretty much, you cannot deviate from the plan because, let's be honest, smaller content creators will get absorbed by their fan base because, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Because subscribers mean everything to people nowadays. Clout means everything nowadays, even though, let's be honest, in a situation like social media where people have lives outside of it, where they make money, that doesn't matter when it comes to this space. If you have more subscribers for most of the time, if you have more views, therefore, in the lives of people, you're always right. And it's like, is that how we judge things nowadays? Is that how critically, analytically, we break down people's talking points? If you have more subs, you have more views, therefore you must be doing the right thing. I mean, come on. I can show you cat videos. I can show you dog videos. I can show you so many different videos that I look at just for the sake of it, which has millions of views, millions of subscribers. It's like, bro. But again, a lot of times it's not about if you're right. It just, I know the message resonates, but even that sometimes can be very dangerous. But again, favoritism, clicks, people have their peoples behind them. The other people have their peoples behind them, and there'll always be somebody who has issue with somebody. I mean, we're human. We're gonna have issues with people. It just is what it is. But that is definitely something which I've noticed, which hurts a lot of us over here, um, and that especially makes it just like if you don't. And this is the thing, because of the scene, the scale and the size of the scene. If you have problems with the wrong ones or even the right ones, depending how you phrase it, you're definitely going to get a spot onto certain people's show, which will, again, let's be honest, will help you boost your views, because this space is all about collaborations. There's make no bones about it. And collaborations, networking, that's the key to the game. It's the key to life, if I be honest. Again, going back to the self-promotion thing, even taking myself outside of the space of YouTube, but even when it comes to working perspective, one of the things I've always noticed is if you've ever go high up in the organization that you're in, is it becomes less about you being good at your job and more about how many people know who you are by name, by face, and how many people know exactly what it is that you do. And not how many senior people know who you are, how many senior people know what you do. Because by them knowing it, what happens is this: you have whispers, you have your, as we say, you have your cigarette breaks, but a lot of people working from home, but you have your conversations. And then when positions come up or situations that evolve, where we have remodeling of areas or we want to do this, guess what happens? Yo, do you know there's a position here? I think you'd be good for it. No, you know the position over here? I think you'd be good for it. So what happens now is it becomes a scene of favoritism. It becomes a situation of, because I know you, I scratch your back, you scratch my back. And then opportunities, whoop, they come straight open. And then I'm like, hold on a second. Because I've seen, again, it's just like, when I look back and I'm thinking, damn, I think I went through the wrong route when it comes to certain things. Because sometimes putting your head down, working hard, I'm not going to dismiss that. But a lot of times I've seen a lot of people skip through so many people because they had something called a sponsor. Now, if anyone knows anything about what the hell a sponsor is, I'll tell you what a sponsor is. A sponsor is usually somebody who will like scratch your back, who are able to put you in certain positions that will say, look, if you want to be um, in a middle management job, if you want to be earning over X amount, if you want to be doing this, you need to go here for maybe like 6 months to a year. Then you need to go here. I'm going to put in a good recommendation for you here. I'm on the senior lead board. And when it comes to our leadership meetings, when we have a talk about how we calibrate people, when we talk about who's right for going up to the next leadership position or whatever it may be, guess what happens? Your name will come up. And when your name consistently comes up, opportunities open up, and that's how you get sponsored through. I've seen situations where people have seemed to just steamroll places. I'm like, how did you do that? Then I realized they were connected to the right people, they had the right sponsors, and there it is. So yeah, man, it's the same. Like, listen, the scene, the podcasting scene is real life, isn't it? I know social media try and separate it, but a lot of things that take place will obviously reflect real life. If you know the right people, you can get really, really far quick. Let's be honest. I talked about just birdie things. I'm going to name drop it. How do you think she did it? She connected with the right people. She made the right strategic moves, and she's blown up. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When you listen to her backstory about how she first found out about this space, how she first found out about the topic she was talking about, it was like less than a year ago, 6 months ago. Whereas you had people who have been putting in the hard grind, coming up with the theories, the concepts, philosophies, the talking points, ironing it out, getting a critique, going through all the wars for years and years and years and years and years. You could argue they've not got their just dues. Now, is that fair? Is that not? Nope. It just is what it is. But this is sometimes life. This is life is a nutshell. If you have the right connections, if you have the right um, marketing strategy, and that's another thing, you have the right self promotion. If you do things in the right way, then you can bypass a lot of things by having the right situation, the right movers and shakers, and knowing what to do. And that's how when I talk to friends and family, they're like, "Listen, if I knew what I knew now, as the classic line as it is, I'll go down different routes, but also I put myself in positions where other people are, where they can say, you know what, I can help you out." And this is how, bro, when it comes to clicks, favoritism, it's just, bro, it's something that unfortunately you're just never gonna get out of. And obviously it works in reverse. If you have a bad reputation, then you're gonna have to do a hell of a lot more in a lot of different spaces to really get yourself back up into certain spaces or even get to where you need to get to. Because believe it or not, people will absolutely make sure their foot is on your neck, whether it be directly or indirectly, to make sure that you ain't going anywhere near there. So that's another thing what takes place, which again, sometimes it should be about the work. We talk about how good you are, but it ain't about necessarily how good you are. It ain't about how necessarily intelligent you are from um, a pure IQ. A lot of time it's emotional intelligence, it's social intelligence, it's how you get your way. Sam, you put it down there. Yep, social hierarchy. Unless you're self-employed, unless you have you're working by yourself in certain aspects now, because not every time when you work by yourself does this not apply to. But yep, that's the best way if you're going to be just employed. So yep, nepotism is, well, and I can imagine. That's why I said to myself, I'm never going to work, touch wood, in the public sector at least. But yeah, I really don't want to be working in the public sector in terms of health. I know health has different segments, but yeah, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Now, the next point I wanted to get into, the next thing which I think really hurts us as well, and this is where I've been trying to have my channel as personally, I try to stay away from this, is when it comes to originality. Now, I really, 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 really um say feel, but judging by when I listen to the content creators, a lot of times it's always based on either talking points, styles, methods that aren't original, and they're likely taken from, and I have to bring them up, from our US counterparts. Now, the problem with that is when we copy off something or someone, I mean, you have to look at our music, our films. We always try and say, well, where's the UK version of this? Or where's the UK version of this? And I'm like, we need to stop saying that and stop thinking like that. Because the moment you try and piggyback, the moment you try and copy, it automatically is seen as two things: an inferior product, because if, why don't I go to the original, then go to the copied version? And then number two, and this is the thing that we always look like as well, we look like begs. We always look like we're trying to fit in. And this is where, again, going back to how I see sometimes we can be perceived. Tariq Nasheed calls us tethers. I flipping hate that word, but this is how it seems, because what we lack is the originality when it comes to certain situations. Why can't we be trendsetters? Why can't we be the ones who set the tone when it comes to what people are talking about? Why is that we can't be the ones on a majority level that we will do things in a setup that is completely different? Now, again, there are things which are general talking points which will exist throughout all of mankind, which is why Americans think that everything exists in their neck of the woods. And this is the thing where I always think, US think that everything originates there. The US thinks that everything came from there. And I'm like, bro, you need to travel. A lot of Americans don't travel, so they're very narrow-minded. They don't know anything outside of their own neck of the woods. So a lot of things I'm like, I get it. There are things which happen over here which have happened way before them. But there are things which I will say we do always try and want to copy. When I'm like, why? It's like, bro, we have our own unique style, or at least try and perfect the style, have our original ways of doing things. Same with podcasts, same with music scene, same with loads of things. It's like, we don't need to have this UK version nonsense. We can be ourselves, authentic. We can do it in a way which they're like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. I'll give a classic example. It's a bad example, but everyone knows what it is, I think. But Backchat London. Now, Backchat London at the time was obviously talking topics aren't necessarily new, but the style, the format, how it was, the men on one side, the women on one side. Because let's be honest, I would argue like Lapeef Network. That's a kind of an amalgamation of Backchat. And then what happened after Backchat London took off and really, really blew, it expanded to other areas. You had Backchat in the US, you had all this kind of other stuff. But what I'm trying to say is we're not risk takers enough. We don't rate ourselves enough. I think we lack the ability to be original, not because we aren't, but because we fear that it won't be well received. But I'm like, by whom? And this is where I say we look like begs. Forget about what everyone else is thinking. Rate yourself. Forget about what everyone else is doing. Sometimes I think we have a way of always trying to, oh, we need to do it this way. No, 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 no. At the end of the day, I'm not saying that everything works that is original, but I think um there is kind of like more respect or more integrity sometimes when a lot of things are original. I don't know why we always seem to not want to rate ourselves when it comes to certain things, but we just we just seem to care about what other people think. And I'm just like, bruh, we can be very, very. I think that's what I said. We're very underrated. I think a lot of us are. I'll be honest. Average, very, very intelligent. On average, we're very smart. On average, we speak well. On average, we conduct ourselves in a great way. On average, we have a great disposition, how we're presented. But yet, we want to have this other disposition, and there's no need for it. We have a great way of handling ourselves over here. I was listening to old videos of how we were talking to each other and conducting ourselves, and I'm like, that's how we should be. We should be a refined version. That's kind of what we're supposed to be in this land, a refined version of ourselves. We should be a way of being able to conduct ourselves, which is a great thing. And I'm like, why can't we try and redirect, distribute that in a way which will make people think, oh, this is the new norm. This is now people talk about the new black, orange is the new black. This is how things should be done. I think once we can do that and get a hold of ourselves, then we get to reset the narrative, we get to reset the balance, we get to reset a few things. So for me, I'm just like, yeah, we do come across like begs a lot. We do come across as being unoriginal, like risk taking, and every single time something happens, again, BLM, BLM UK, SPSBM, SPSBM over here. It's like, come on now. It's like Black Panthers UK. It's like, bruh, I would love it if we just come up with something ourselves and other people be like, psh, okay, I rock with that. I mess with that. I'm good with that. Let's do it ourselves. And I'm like, that's kind of really where um when it comes to when I look at our scene, when I look at just as a whole, bro. Even the thing is, this is even like a UK thing. Because even the UK now, and I get sick and tired of this, like all these like American fast food joints, all these like Americanism that's taken over, which I'm like, what the hell? What's gone on? What has gone on in the last 20 years where all these Americanisms have taken over, where you have and American fast food places. I mean, all the chains are pretty much American, from your Burger King to McDonald's to Starbucks to Costa Coffee. Actually, I don't think Costa's American, but Starbucks. It's like, bro, what's happened? I think this is a massive UK thing where, for some odd reason, we don't like to promote ourselves. We don't like to rate ourselves. And therefore, we're always asking, where's our chain of this? Where's our chain of that? Where's our this? And even from a black perspective, I'm going to say this. And I mentioned this before. The reason why other groups can colonize this is because our communities are colonized at the best of time. Our hair products, their stores aren't owned by us. A lot of our chain food stores aren't owned by us. A lot of the communities that we owned aren't run by us. So there was no surprise in my mind. There was no surprise in my mind when I saw certain things take place on this space where I thought, trust and believe. So typical that it took an outsider to merge people and create something which we should have been doing our own self. I mean, we don't seem to sing and shout about our own media as much as we should do. But yet again, I'm like, well, this is probably our fault. So I can't complain when someone else comes in, understands the business model, and then will say, okay, I'm going to do what you guys do, but I'm going to have my business lens on it. I'm going to promote it. I'm going to put some extra finance in it. And then boom, it's going to explode. And then guess who gets the credit for it? Or guess who gets the most revenue from it? You get a slice and a piece. But truth be told, guess what? I own you because I'm the one who feeds you. This is exactly how it's happened for a long time. It happens in our own nations. It happens in our own local communities. It's just like, bruh. But it just is what it is. I don't think we seem to want to, and this is something which Falcon was saying on his community tab, a lot of people have been saying as well that I heard on KB, that there's a business sense to all this. Sometimes take the emotion out of it, and there's a business sense to all of this. Other groups will see it completely on the business sense. While we are moaning about certain things should be, looks like this or should be like this, they're like, you have that conversation. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set up something. I'm going to use you as the face, or I'm going to use you as the workers, and then I'm going to actually rinse off all the money from the proceeds, because I understand that this is a burgeoning market. I understand there's a space, there's a niche. So why all you guys are fighting your little one here, your little one there, your little one there? I'm going to create a chain. I'm going to basically block out the market in which all of you guys are going to fall straight underneath us. I talk about Turtle all the time. You got packs, the hair products. Like, it's like, bro, they will realize, okay, you guys moan about this or this little stuff. I'm going to come in and I'm going to pretty much be the main distributor. So you have to come through me. I'm going to be the main supplier. You have to come through me. I'm going to be in the marketing team. So you have to come through me. I'm going to be the producing team. You have to come through me. I'm going to be the ones who are going to actually set this up. So you have to come through me. So all the time we don't own the things that we need to own. And it's like, is it even ours at the end of the day? Is it even something that we can claim as ours? But we do, because it has a name called Black Chat. It has a name like Black this. It has a name like da 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 da. But all in truth, when you look behind it, it's like, well, there it is. There it is. So yeah, man, when I look at the music scene, I always think we're underrated. We're an underrated group of people. Um, I think we have a lot of potential. I think the scene in itself is growing. I think there's more appetite now, which is great for a lot of content creators in this scene. And I think that's part of it, is now come to stepping up. Now, this is where it will hit me flipping hard, because consistency is definitely something which I've been falling foul of. Again, life happens. I have a proper, say a proper job. I know some people I don't think that I have a proper job doing this sometimes, but they must do. Or they must be really, really economical on their time. But but yeah, consistency is very key when it comes to this kind of stuff. And listen, let's be honest, in life, consistency pays off in everything. Consistency, whether it's saving, investing in the right things, consistently doing the right things, consistently eating the right thing, consistently working out in the right way. Consistency is the key, and doing the right things is the key. A lot of times we can do things. People say this phrase, practice makes perfect, but it's not. Practice makes permanent. If you practice incorrectly, you're going to be completely incorrectly wrong permanently. But if you practice the right way, you're going to become the right thing. So a lot of times, consistency, bro. I stumble at this. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been kind of infrequent with my uploads and live streams, so I get it. And you lose trust. People lose trust in you if you don't do the if you're not consistent. And I get it, and I agree. So for sure, I was listening to that stream on KB, and Jesse was talking, I believe, in consistency and how a lot of times we don't see it as a business, but we should start seeing this as a business. I remember when YouTube first came out, this account started in like 2000. I think I opened this in 2006. And at the time, I was too young to have an old account. So I think I got another account that I've forgotten. So even on this account, my age is wrong because I've had to, I pretend I was older. But I remember being seeing the rise of YouTube and how people didn't know what this was going to be. And this is kind of where I do envy you, white people, because they seem to just have a view. They understand business. They understand how, listen, give it some time. We're going to monetize the crap out of this. and just seeing the rise of YouTube from content creation and how it's valued and how now it's a proper business where people didn't even realize what it could be, the extent, the scope, and now look at it, and it's like, we probably don't perfect the business end of things as much as we should do. So yeah, that's really how it is. But that's kind of my thoughts on it. I'm gonna reaching like the hour mark now, so I'm gonna put the link in the chat for people who want to come up and just have their viewpoints just on how you've seen the scene over here. I mean, I definitely will say this. It's gotten better since I've been on here myself for the last couple of years. Now, part of that, again, I've been trying, at least myself, to try and curate UK content creators, just to have a sort of a, what do we call it? I say a conglomerate, but just a group of band of people, just because if I complain about voice not being heard and I'm not part of the solution, then I'm just part of the problem who just wants to complain. So one of the things I've been trying to do in my small YouTube career, my little YouTube career, is just make sure that topics which um resonates with us over here are at the forefront. That's why I was trying to stay my topics to um homegrown, home based, because other people, listen, if we don't care about ourselves, other people disrespect us. That's how I see it. And why would they respect us if we don't respect ourselves? A lot of times, what we need to do as the first point of call is respect ourselves, respect who we are, respect our history, and then other people, even if they may not like us, they'll be forced to respect us. And this is why a lot of times I think we do seem to fall foul. But yeah, it's just how I see things. I'm like, listen, if you're gonna preach for this and want for that, then you're gonna have to be the, what do you call it, be the change that you want to be. But a lot of times I'm gonna say this is another thing which I want to do a live stream on. Um, are we kind of, I think it's so easy for us to sort of leave. I think it's so easy for us to just to um oh well, I'm not from here, or I don't have no affiliation from here, therefore I'm going to leave, because a lot of us are products of people who you could argue are economic migrants. And it just got me thinking, an economic migrant is someone who takes an opportunity and would leave without even any hesitation. Now, why that has its benefits, because you want to make sure you can have a good life for your family and whatnot. The question then becomes, do you even have any allegiances? Is it something where, and I did a live stream about, is it a cowardice thing to move? And ultimately I said, no, it's not, especially depending on where you come from, it's life or death. But there is something which it does still resonate, which makes me think there's a reason why sometimes things don't get built up, because people just thought, what, forget this. Why bother? Why try? We don't have this. We don't have that. And it's like, well, someone's going to have to sacrifice in order for this to be built up. Let's be honest. We moan about, countries over here, countries over there where we reside in. But if everyone leaves and no one, looks back and helps out, or uses their skills, their knowledge, their networks to help the rest of the nation get uplifted, or even your own community you're in right now uplifted, then guess what? It's going to look exactly how you left it. What do you want to say to that? If you're the only one who's leaving, or if you're the one who's not looking back. So yeah, it's yeah, it got me thinking about how we are as a people and whatnot. But links in the chat, people. Definitely come up if you want to just talk about, I suppose it's a two-part question really. How do you see the UK scene? And then ultimately, then how do you see us off the back of that? How are we represented right now? Because off the top of my head, I will say this, and I got to be fair. There are definitely channels which are more popular, which, you know, a lot of times it could be a lot of foolishness, but I get it. Entertainment sells. Let's just let's not make no bones about it, people. Um, Entertainment sells. You need entertainment. People, they want to decompress from their lives. But again, it's always like entertainment in this most dysfunctional way that gets represented. Whereas a lot of channels which aren't as dysfunctional, which is very good, very informative, and very has a mixture of both, they don't get the sort of praise. So I don't know whether that's a symptomatic of the culture that we're in right now, because that seems to just trend a lot more often. But yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. But um, links in chat, people. So by all means, come on up, have your say. See what the chat is saying. Well, yeah, it was successful. It's definitely teetered off now. It peaked a few years back, and now it's gone down. So a lot of times it's just like, I think what channel on Trend Central, it's Backchat London and Costello is the only ones that's hold up that channel, but it's successful. Yeah, it's definitely tailed off now. And answer to your question, was it a good representation? No, no. It was I mean, listen, truth's in it. It's a in terms of representation of what you'll see. But yeah, was it good representation? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Some people argue, but nah, 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 nah. It wasn't good representation on either side, for the men's side or the women's side. It was just a lot of times. Again, this is what happens when you argue and you have all these beefs, and then start crying and da 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 da. I mean, let's be honest. The most popular ones that I can remember now, the ones who are the most dysfunctional. Esther comes to mind. Lucas comes to mind. There's probably some other ones that comes to mind, which I can't remember their names right now, but I know the faces. But the ones that will always be the ones that people remember the most are the ones who are the most mouthy, rank, rude, face. They all them ones there. They're the ones who are likely to be the ones who most remembered, because I keep saying it's a culture of clout chasing, um, egotistical. You have to really, really, really shout, and you have to be acting a fool to get noticed. It's just, it's crazy. You can't be just calm and collected to get noticed these days. You have to be flipping shouting like a crazy man or crazy woman to get noticed. So yeah, was it good representation? Nah, 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 nah. Is there any need for passport bros in the UK? Yeah, honestly, this is that whole come across as begs, bro. Um, all I think most people, I think like 90% of people in this nation, by the time they've reached, I'll be generous here, 15, would have a passport. Whereas in the US, like I want to say only, I think like for Black Americans, 20% had like passports by that time. It's like, is there any need for it? No, we're a nation of people who travel. You know what I mean? We're a nation of people who I speak to loads of people, and every year people will have at least 2 or 3 holidays. A lot of it obviously will be in Europe just because it's cheaper and easier, but there'll be holidays that people go further abroad. Let's be honest. So yeah, that whole idea of passport bros, it's just again, it's just there's no need for it. No, it's that begging thing, and it's like, what's the point? But yeah, that whole point about US culture permit for the whole world. Yeah, black is judged for, yeah, even the word black, and I'm going to try and stop this. I hate it when people say black Brits as if we're not as black as someone else. And when it's Americans, it's just black. It's like, what? No, 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 no. No, no, no. I don't want to be sometimes specific, but I don't like that. It's like it's a off black, it's a different type of black, it's something else. But yeah, it's always judged through Black America's lens. And the reason why? Because Americans shout loud, because Americans self-promote, because Americans are up in your face, because Americans won't let you rest. Whereas we're like, oh, we're cool, we're cool, we're reserved, we're calm and collected. We're not going to say anything. Da, 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 da. I'm like, no, forget that. Whereas over there, if something happens, a little scratch get grazed, it's a flipping lawsuit, and it's the war on this. Whereas over here, I read this news report where it was joint enterprise law, which is responsible for locking up like 3 times as many black men on charges that they've not done. I'm like, where's the outrage of that? Where's the outrage? I'm going to do a video on this, going through all the my research on the documents and the details about how laws over here has negatively affected a lot of black men, which are responsible for locking up a lot of black men. A lot of which have no connection to any of the crimes, but because of the because of the intricacies of the law, they've been able to lock them up. And like, where the hell is the outrage? Where the hell is the outcry? Where's the war on this? Where is it? Nowhere to be seen. Unless you search for it, unless you're in those right spaces, a lot of people won't even know about it. That's what I hate. A lot of these things, unless you really, really search for it, you won't find out, because it's not up in center in your face. So that's why a lot of times the whole culture over there permeates, because they're up in your face. We're not up in your face with it. So it hurts us in a culture like this. But yeah, SB, yeah, I agree. It did show rude, argumentative, aggressive women. So, but yeah, that's really what it is. But um, I don't know. I don't know, because a lot of UK slang were used, which I think, no, I know for a fact were not American slang. Um, so I know a lot of Brits were using a lot of words on that channel which were just UK slang. So I don't know. I disagree. I disagree. A lot of words nowadays, we have a lot of different vernacular what we use, which I don't think you guys would understand. I mean, we don't use elevators. I don't know if that's what you mean, but we don't use the word elevator at all. Lift and sneakers apart. Sneakers, nah, bro, nah, bro, nah, bro. We don't use that. We don't use the words at all. I've not heard people really say that, unless they're on like a stupid, was it complex, where they're going through their trainer collection. I think they may use it in that context, but nah, 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 nah. I disagree. I disagree. I disagree. um, but yeah, and this is it. And this is it. it's comedic rather than anything serious. But it's the thing though, a lot of serious things took place after that. Where again, you know, when you just flick through on certain feeds and it comes up, you're like, what's this nonsense? Yes, it's more amusing than actual representation. But a lot of the things I've seen people getting caught up in, it's like I don't know whether people have to try and play up to the image that they've portrayed. I don't know whether people they create a false persona, but they can't, you know, have split personalities. They can't really decompress from what they've created, and then it just spirals out of control. Or maybe these people actually are these crazy people, and they've had to try and find these crazy people to come on the show, and it just is what it is. It's not the norm, which that might be part and parcel of it. I think a lot of them aren't the norm. It's just you have to have crazy people on there. I mean, what's going to happen if no one has any arguments on the show like this? No one's going to really care, are they? It's like, bruh. So I don't know. Charles, CAT, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Again, links in chat, people. So if you wanna come up, let me know. If not, honestly, I'll shut down the stream. I'm not necessarily going to be talking for too long on this live chat. I just wanted to talk about the UK scene and the space and how, again, I do see a change. There are some things which we still are operating under, which definitely is something which I've noticed for myself. But I just wanted to give my viewpoints from my perspective on how things have changed and or how things have changed. Just my viewpoint, just from, you know, this little YouTuber over here. So yeah, don't take anything in a negative manner, but this is just my viewpoints, as you can see. But yeah, speed it. Listen, yeah, flipping heck. And you know what kills me the most? As much as I'm like, and this is another thing where a lot of us are just responsible for our own downfalls, and which is why I can't even criticize her, and I can't even complain about the situation. I just have to sit back and think. I have to like, I have to laugh. Honestly, I sit back and think, do you know what? Whose fault is it really? Swear down. Whose fault is it really? Because when I listened to how she got into the game and how she barely even knew and this is the thing, she barely even knew what was going on 6 months ago, and yet she's on here doing all this, making moves. I'm like, what do you credit that to? I got to credit that to the business sense. And it's just like, this is it. It's like the business sense. Whereas we talk about so-and-so should have been the lead, so-and-so should have been doing this, but A, did they want to do it? I don't know. B, did they have the business sense to do it? C, did they have the finances to do it? I don't know. But D, the optics all look bad. But at the end of the day, whose fault is it? When the people go on the show who look like us, whose fault is that? Whether it was a gun pointing to the head? No. So when she had the detractors and she was talking about it, I was to say, yeah, she's not lying. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you know, people have to patronize it. Myth, what's up, man? How's it going?
Hi, I just hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, all good, man. Loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah, I saw KB stream the other day. I mean, I saw it like, I guess maybe way after it finished. And I mean, I found it very interesting. So it's kind of interesting. I'm glad you're doing a response to it, because by the time I'd seen it, it was too late. But I had a number of thoughts on it, because there was a lot of things I heard that I feel like over the time when we've had panels and discussions, it's like there's a number of things I've said that's related to a lot of that stuff. But it was interesting, I guess, especially some of the points to do with uh, YouTube consistency, the whole like just talking about like the differences between why things don't really take off here. I don't know if you remember, but there's been a number of times I've said I feel like the UK lacks ambition.
Yeah,
And
I do.
that is, yeah. And one thing, and you kind of said it here on the stream where you said something about us. I don't know what, can't remember the word you used, but it was effectively the same thing.
Risk taking.
Yeah, yes, exactly that. And in recent months, I'd say this year, I've had a lot more exposure to a lot of the, like, just how this country is in terms of business wise, and in terms of like how people operate. Something you was talking about that I always knew, but I started to have a lot more experience with recently, was the whole kind of thing of connections and how knowing people kind of elevates people faster than stuff like that. Because it's just, I don't know, it's just interesting kind of seeing how that stuff factors in. I've always known it, but it's interesting watching it play out in different arenas, you know, because yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. I know I probably sound like I'm saying a whole bunch of nothing right now, but I'm
No.
just basically, yeah, it's
Right.
just, I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of stuff that was said between this stream and KB stream that I found like very relevant, uh, given just my experience throughout my life, but especially like recently, I'd say this year and last year.
No, 100%. And on the talking about connections and whatnot, it's even when I looked at I watched a documentary, kind of a documentary about billionaires, and how a lot of billionaires, their connections, they have like there's 3 points that most billionaires have always followed. Number one, they've always had either a great start in life due to their family background. So a lot of them are very rich. Bill Gates was a guy who came from a really upper class family who had a lot of connections. He was doing coding back in the, I think the 70s. Who was doing coding in the 70s? He went to a private school, which obviously afforded him a lot of connections. You gotta have to look at the UK politics scene to see a lot of them go to these schools to get these connections. A lot of times it's not about necessarily getting the right degree, going to the right school to get the right connections so they can say, I've been here. So now I know this person. I can now get my foot in the door when it comes to MPs and the prime minister, and therefore I can do my bidding. So it's like you got that, you got government assistance, you got all this kind of other stuff, and capitalist workers. It's like, do you know when you realize how things work? And you're right. Until you see it up close, it's all a bit conceptual. But when you see it in your own, like flipping heck, it just it even though you know it, it just hammers home the point.
I mean,
yeah,
I've always known it, but I think it's just watching just how superficial people actually are. The thing is, I remember when I was like a kid, I used to always kind of think like all the adults had it figured out. They were really smart. Like, you know, I remember even when I was in school, like maybe year 10 or 11, and would see like university students. And I remember I just see them like carrying like, I don't know, maybe like a folder, and there was all this shit in there. And when you go to school, it's just like, you know, you don't have to, I don't know, it just looked like they had a lot more going on. Like, oh, they've got to carry all this extra work, and you know they must be stressed out. And people were saying, you know, oh, university, you know, like in school they make it a big deal to get in there, so you know it's like, oh, it must be this big thing. And you know, like you just said, like, oh, what university you going to and all this, like they was making out like this massive deal. So I always had this belief that all these people must be very smart, and I need to figure it out, and I need to, you know, not be stupid and blah blah blah. And all it ended up doing was making me realize how further ahead I've ended up by this point than the average person. Because it's like, oh well, actually most people aren't actually as ambitious as I thought they were. Most people aren't actually doing as much as I thought they were. So, and it was kind of disillusioning. And what I realized is that here in the UK in particular, it is definitely like that.
I was gonna ask you that question. Do you think the UK? Because I've always thought this. We're very, very, very. I don't know what it is, but we're afraid to really be ambitious. I don't know why that is, but is it part of because of the it sounds stupid, the weather, or we afraid to put ourselves out? You know what I mean? It's like, what is it that makes us a little bit more hesitant to?
It is partially because of the weather to an extent. Even though it sounds stupid, it's not. But I don't think I think that's a massive part, because just because of the simple fact of, imagine if we had like sun like all the time, like LA, our culture would be very different. I mean, you would literally have to be, we'd have a beach culture, we'd probably have a massive fitness culture, it'd be completely different. But because of things like the weather, and considering the fact most of the time you're going to kind of spend your time indoors, you know, when it's raining, you want to kind of rush past people. You don't really want to stand around talking. I mean, look, just compare when we do have some sun out, how it is here in the UK to when we don't. I can tell you right now, like here in London, when the sun's out for even a day, it's like it's a different place.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
So it does affect it. I mean, to what extent or in what ways, you know, is something I guess you'd have to really study to figure out. But I think it's quite obvious that weather obviously affects places. That's why people like to travel places with hotter climates if they're from colder climates, and they're like, oh, people are so friendly and open. Yeah, because because they literally live in an environment where you're going to be out a lot of the time probably. So you develop a type of behavior where you're around people where, you know what I mean, where it's more sociable. If you're in a colder climate, it's less likely. You're probably more insular. You're going to stick to smaller groups. And that is what you see a lot of here in this country. And I think because of that, that's why we have like this kind of, it's weird because I feel like in a lot of ways to advance here is a lot easier though. which might sound odd. Like, I think that because all it really takes is for you to have a bit of ambition. So you will stand out, I think, a lot easier here than you would in America, for example, because there's way less people here who have that kind of X factor to them. There's way less
That's
people here that.
competition. That's competition.
Yes, yeah. Basically, there's just a lot less of it. So if you do have it, I think you will stand out a lot more, and you'll be able to get a lot further. It's just, I think, I could be wrong about this, but I think the ceiling here is somewhat lower.
Now, this
So
is what I was going to say next, because this is what I think. For example, I was even looking at, you look at jobs and wages and how wages, they're pittance over here and cost of living is high. I'm like, in terms of the ceiling, our ceiling is so much lower in terms of getting like multi-millionaires, billionaires. It's like you can't really, I don't think, like over there in the US, you can have a product and before no time. Let's be honest. Do you think a Kim Kardashian could ever happen over here in that kind of manner? It sounds, you know what I mean, or a situation where you can Z-listers or something like. I don't know. The ceiling seems to be a hell of a lot smaller when it comes to what we do. I don't know if it's the size of scale or.
It's a smaller country. Everything we have here is smaller. Like, for example, even I remember when I first was looking at our Comic-Con, and I don't go to Comic-Con, but I remember when I was looking at it. Bear in mind, I'd always seen the American one, so I looked at ours and I was like, "Is that it?" Even when I looked at the people attending it, I was like, "This is dry. Like, this ain't nothing. What is this?" Even places like South America, man, even in Colombia, their Comic-Con looks more lit than ours. I'm just looking at it like, what's going on? We
don't like self-promotion. I said this. We don't seem, like Americans will put on a show, they'll do this, razzmatazz, even if it's a load of nonsense, like all style, no substance. A lot of times, I think a lot of their stuff is, but it's like we don't even have the style down sometimes. I'm like, what's wrong? What's going on? It's like we don't even have the razzmatazz sometimes when it comes to things. I think the British culture is a little bit more just cool, no? Just cool. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. But I don't know. Jesse, sorry, Myth, I'll come back to you in a second. Jesse, welcome, bro. How's it going?
Yeah, what's good?
I don't know how much you caught of the stream, but
not much, because I was playing Modern Warfare, and then I clocked that you were live. I completely forgot. I forgot to put notifications on my phone, and basically I came late. But overall, the topic, like,
it's kind of it's a response to the stream that you was on with KB. So it's pretty much a continuation on from that.
Right. So I feel certain, like, here's the thing, right? I don't know. I think King Richards isn't talking to me anymore, because I DM'd him a few times and he's just put me on scene, which is kind of strange. Maybe it's the comments I made about him being signed, when actually some of it was just positive, but I still had some criticisms, right? Because I followed King Richards for like a good for a long time, since the start, right? Always supported him, so on and so forth. And I just feel like certain content creators have basically compromised their own values for basically the bag, right? Like, for example, Sarah Garvey.
Sorry, let me just pause on that second, because I want to take it wide and say this. Is it because we lack business sense, which is why people are forced to do that? And this is why my argument I made. I don't know if you probably didn't hear this.
Well, possibly. But the thing is then you got to look at people's authenticity then. Because let me give you an example, right? I was watching a live stream of Sarah Garvey's stuff, right? He called it the black opinion. And now he's changed it to the people's opinion. Right? Now, I don't have no problem with what he's doing. Right? I just look at what people's morals are and what they basically stand for. Right? Like, last time I checked, he was a Pan-Africanist. Am I right or am I wrong?
I think so. I want to say
he is.
Yes, I don't know if he. I don't know if he still is.
He said it many times. Like, I went to Hyde Park and I met this guy in person. Right? So it's like, I'm like, why all of a sudden the change, when as soon as let's say, as soon as he joined Pearly Things, all of a sudden his demeanor changed. Like, he talked about having a clan, right? I have hardly seen his clan in a while. The only person I saw recently, and that was one of his people opinions podcast, was Marcus Lovelace, so I think it's pretty cool. And then another guy called Adoink, if you know who Adoink is, sick.
Yeah, that's his
sick editor, bro.
editor. Yeah.
Right. So I was like, what's going on here? Right. That's another thing I was looking at. Right. And I'm just like, the optics just don't look good. Like, I understand if you got to make money, cool. I understand, innit? Just say it. You know what I mean? Like, for example, King Richards, right? He had a concept called power, right? All about, because I watched him for years. He talked about financial power, being your own boss, spiritual power, physical power, all of these things. Now, I feel as if, like, in a way, he's compromised that, right? Because he was all about entrepreneurship and basically building wealth, because he was talking about things regarding shares and so on and so forth. Now, just Purdy things came along and signed him. Congratulations to him. But then I look at his power concept and I think, like, it doesn't stand as strong, right? Now, can I blame him? No, right? Because I've always said that King Rich has never got much help in the YouTube in the YouTube space. I've seen it, right? The only time I seen him got significant help was by two American YouTubers, which was by O'Shea Duke Jackson and Solo TV 84. And then I'll say previously now, I would say Poku Banks as well, right? A UK guy. And then I would say recently, which this was where I think he could have made a big break, when he was networking with Sneeko, Castillo, that girl, I think it's Cheyenne Reynolds. I don't know if she was, I don't remember.
Yeah, but I don't think any of those people actually have their own thing. Now, this is the difference between.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, but does he? I remember hearing Castillo moaning about Trend Central releasing an interview he did with his ex, and how because again, I think Castillo signed to someone else while he was under contract with someone else. I didn't think he had his own platform like a ZZ Mills would have her own platform, or Fresh and Fit. I didn't think they had their own platform outside of a YouTube channel. That is.
Oh, okay. I'll call it a YouTube. Call it a YouTube channel then.
Okay,
right?
fair enough. All right.
So we call it that, their own platform, or technically YouTube channel, right? So then you have various things in nature, and I actually DM'd him and I said, look, you got to take, like, advantage of this, bro. Like, this is a big chance. Like, you may even get to be able to speak with like Andrew Tate, even if he networked with flipping Sneeko, right? I always thought that he should have been bigger than he actually is. And the thing is the reason why I say that is because the problem is because of the lack of unity. In my opinion, I think, and to be honest, I think the black YouTube space is kind of small anyway, in my opinion, right? And like he said, it was very clicky, which he is spot on. His observations are spot on, right? And that's really forced a lot of UK YouTubers to actually get help from the US, right? Because he also did a collaboration with Fresh and Fit as well, right? So, like, my answer to that, yeah, it makes sense, but in all grand scheme of things, like, I have no hate in my heart towards just Pearly Things or King Richards or Sarah Garvey, right? It's just the optics just look bad. That's just really what it is. It doesn't look good.
I hear you, bro. I hear you. And yeah, I hear you. Right, let me go to Zulia. Welcome. How's it going?
Yeah, man, bro, I'm not gonna lie. I just missed. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yo, I missed the whole show except for 5 minutes, man. I just rang up to get a synopsis. Like, what did I miss in it? Because I've just been basically, bro. I was having a hot bath and sauna. Basically, I'm not gonna lie, I was having a sauna and putting some scented candles and music in the background. So I kind of chill mix on Spotify. What's going on?
You got a nice little, beauty regimen routine. But yeah, I'll give you the cliff notes. Do you have me in other tab? I can hear myself. You're echoing.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll turn off the speaker. Sorry, man. I'm off. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, near me.
All right, cool. Yeah. But yeah, cliff notes is just about, it's a response to KB's stream, talking about the whole UK space and how there's probably no unity. And I was just responding to that and talking about how I think us over here we're more divided in certain aspects. Just from my perspective, I think we lack ambition. That's more of a British thing. I think a lot of us have a kind of a more reserved way about ourselves, which kind of inhibit us from being able to go to that next level. I think a lot of us are called a bit more like begs. I think we need to be more trendsetters and risk takers. So I just talked through a lot of that. That was kind of my thoughts on it, and this is how it's all developed. But yeah, Zudi, you always have like a negative outlook, or I say realistic outlook, as you put it, a realist. How do you see us as over here? Do you see us as being divided, not together? Do you think we're unambitious as a whole, less risk taking, not really original? We like to copy. How do you see it?
I feel that we're in Europe, and the glass ceiling is much lower. That's pretty much it for all ethnic groups. I just think in general, Europe is, quite frankly, a dying continent whose best years are behind it. And if my qualifications were applicable in the US, it's not, unfortunately. I've got to do stupid exams again. I would have left a long time ago, to be honest. For money-making purposes, you're not going to get better than the USA anywhere. And in terms of a quote-unquote open society where the glass ceiling is higher and you could keep things more real, there's only one country that I can think of in the Western Hemisphere that can do it as much or as well, and that's the United States of America. I've long gone. In the UK, there is no real Black British community, I feel. And if I had a choice and my qualifications were applicable in the United States, I would have bounced a long time ago. But this is Europe. It's more reserved. Financial opportunities are less. Best days behind it. You know, you can't really... was it tall poppy syndrome? That's the UK. You know, was it tall trees get cut first or something? I can't remember what it's called, that saying.
Oh, I hear what you're saying. But no. But that's a fair point. And one of the things which I've been looking into is actually transferring my skills over to the US. Because when I look at like my jobs and what I'm going for and what I'm doing, everything like that over there, I'm like 3 times the wages, at least in terms of number. I don't know about cost of living, if that translates the same way. So it's all the same. But yeah, one thing I will say, to Miss point for definite, is the ceiling is so much smaller. Now, granted, we could say we're a smaller nation, but I don't know if anyone remembers this, but there was a stat line that said this. Probably before the whole social media boom, the FTSE 100 was so much bigger than the NASDAQ, the Wall Street. But now, I think the social media giants just by itself is more than the entire stock exchange in Europe. Just the 4 social media companies. A lot of that is because there's so much red tape in the EU or Europe at the time. Even still now, to be fair, I know we've left the EU. But there's so much red tape. The ceilings aren't. There's so much more freer to be expressive. There's no way near the social media companies could have existed on this continent, in my humble opinion, with all the red tape. I think a lot of that is because we just seem to be.
Well,
say again?
Taxes as well. That's a big part of it.
True, but yeah, because obviously in the US you have different states will have different tax laws. But even like, for example, Ireland, a lot of them are in Ireland, which are obviously part of the EU, but they have a different tax law, which a lot of them, I think Amazon, they're the ones where they're not paying corporation tax. So there's a massive issue about Amazon and Google being in some of their stations are in the EU, but they're obviously with how they work the tax and stuff. So yeah, I hear that, but it's just all the red tape and everything, which it could never exist because we just don't have that kind of, we're not risk takers anymore. You know what I mean? Industrial Revolution was like a risk taking machine, but it's like now it's like, bruh, I don't know.
I mean, I don't think so much stuff in life like comes from necessity. And I mean, in my personal opinion, America is a worse place to live overall than here. I think the UK is like in this very interesting spot where nothing really, like, we don't have too much chaos. It's not that bad. Like, you know, it's not like we're having all these shootings going on. And I know we have outlier examples, but that's why it's big news, because it's an outlier example. We don't usually have that type of stuff just going on like that. So even like for all the talk people have about London, say, oh, it's so dangerous. Like, no, it really isn't. Compared to what people act like it is, it really isn't. And it's just kind of crazy, because I think in a lot of ways that's part of what feeds into the lack of ambition and what leads to us not really, you know, seeing the push as much, because it's like, for what? People usually do those things because they feel like they have to. Like in America, you know, a lot of people, if they're coming up in a harsh environment or they're dealing with certain situations where they feel like things are unfair, it's going to push them more to try and reach greater heights. Also, the general mentality over there is a more ambitious mentality. I've said this to people numerous times, but I can meet, you know, plenty of American people, and when they say they want to do something, they have this, you know, arrogant mentality of, I want to be the best. You know, it's like the dude ain't got nothing going on right now, but he's still got this, I want to be the best. I don't really hear that here. In fact, when I talk like that here, like literally just what Zulia said about the tall poppy thing, and that's what I was going to say before I fell off, is that because of our more socialist culture mentality, we have this thing where it's kind of like, oh, if you're, you know, if you're not as humble, or if you know, then it's like people want to put you down in some way, or they want to act like we've all got to be like you know, on the same type of time. It's annoying because it's the reason why in a lot of ways we don't have that same level of push in certain things. And I don't want to act like the UK doesn't ever push anything, because obviously it does, but if we're looking at it comparatively, no. But in terms of money, yeah, there isn't a better place in America as far as I'm concerned. I don't think there is. But living wise, yeah, I'm good on that. I think it'd just be a good place to go make some money. If you could make the money without having to actually live there or not have to live there too long, sure. But personally, I wouldn't want to live there. Visit, sure, but not live.
No, I hear what you're saying, but I definitely hear about the ambition thing, because we don't have this concept of the British dream. We don't have this concept of the rags to riches, because I think this is a very classist society still, all the way. I mean, I was having a conversation, and think about this as democracy. The head of the church, or the King Charles, we know the kings and queens, he wasn't elected in. It's just based on the death and the succession. That is what it is. Our prime minister wasn't elected by the people. I mean, a lot of these things, when I look at the backgrounds and the history, I think a lot of it is steeped into history of just the people have always been, you're the plebs, we're everyone else. And we have this kind of, you're in this place, stay in your lane, stay in your place culture. Whereas in other places, you can come from the dirt and you can get to a place of real great success in ways which is so much more reported, even though stats may not say it's so always the case. But over here, it's just like, yeah, it's not like that at all, it seems. I think with social media, though, this is the thing I was going to ask, and this is the open question, though. With social media and the rise of it and how globalized the world is, doesn't that give you guys room for optimism about things, about us being here? Or does that make us more susceptible to get lost in the source, if that makes sense? Open question.
Yeah, it's way more optimistic, a lot more, because you're not limited by your geographic location. You're not limited by just, oh, I'm here in the UK. Like, because if we didn't have that, you would literally have to move. You know, there wouldn't be a choice. But because of the fact it's not like that, you can now have reach and you can grow yourself through a global market. You know what I mean? This is the reason why, like you just said, with the social media companies doing so much better, this is a massive part of the reason why. You know what I mean? A lot of the red tape and stuff you're talking about, a lot of those things are more of an issue if your business is situated in those countries. If it isn't, but you can still reach the people in those countries through the internet, well, you know, you get around a lot of that nonsense. So things like that help massively. And to be honest, it's the reason why, like, having any type of, I guess you could say, product, or if we're talking about like a space like podcasts and doing content and all that kind of stuff, it's great if you're able to kind of transcend just being, I don't know, like stuck in one box, if that makes sense. Like, yeah. America has always been able to do very well because their stuff is global, you know. And I point out how with other cultures this has started happening, like in Asia with Korea, right? South Korea, which only in the last few years really has been on the map in any way because of their music industry, which in a lot of ways is imitating what America was doing with hip hop. But at the end of the day, they've given it their own flavor enough to an extent that people just see it as their thing. And at the end of the day, what it means is now people from that country can literally go anywhere in the world and they're associated with things, just like how black people can go anywhere in the world and then they're associated with hip hop or whatever. It's a similar type of thing. But yeah, I would say because of the expansion of media and the expansion of content and stuff like that, it's a great thing. And I don't think there's always going to be room for more nonsense. Like one thing you were talking about earlier, that honestly, man, like it is something I've noticed years ago, and it's one of the most annoying things about this growth of social media is the fact that it does kind of require the loudness and the obnoxiousness, which I can, like, there's a part of me which has some of that, but I guess maybe because I have been raised here, there's a part of me that knows when to switch it off. Yeah. Or there's a part of me that feels like I don't want to do that too much because it's just extra. Yeah. But you see, the people who don't have that limit, they're going to get noticed of it. Even, and this is what I was saying earlier about how I've noticed it even more recently, like even with the work stuff, even with that, like when it comes, like that's an environment where you'd think, even in more professional environments, even there, like even there sometimes,
right, you know, the ones who shout the loudest, ones that get heard the most. I'm like, I've been in environments, ever been like, especially my earlier working days, like a call center environments, and the ones who get, you know, noticed, the ones who gets this, they're always complaining every 5 seconds. I'm like, the ones who just get their heads down, do what there needs to be done, not, you know when to, you know, calm down or not even, you know, raise their heads. No, man, they're just like, yeah, we can rely on you, but we don't care about you. We can rely on you. It's like, you really have to like force yourself into the conversation, bro.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like I remember one thing that I used to always get told by my employers all the time. Well, one particular employer I had was, he used to always say, "Oh, you know, you're always just kind of in the like he was saying, my energy, I'm always just kind of in the middle." A lot of people would describe me as like I'm very stoic or whatever, right? And you know, that's just because, like, you know, they just be like, "Oh, you don't seem to get stressed out." But what I found is that people were saying it with like almost as if, not like it was wrong, but like it was odd, or like it's surprising, right? And that's because they're used to people being in too much of some kind of extreme state or too easily moved by other people's behavior. And I guess the fact that I'm younger than a fair number of people, it makes it even more odd, because it's like, where's that coming from? But at the end of the day, you know, you realize, that's what I was saying earlier, I realized most people that I thought, oh, when they're older, they're like this, they're more intelligent, they're more like blah, blah, blah. They're not. And it's a shame. It's not like the worst thing in the world. It's a shame, but whatever. At this point, I've just taken it as what I said earlier. It just means that it's a better opportunity for me to stand out and to do the things I want to do. Actually, in a lot of ways, it's going to make things a lot easier for me. So,
no, I hear you, bro. I hear you. Now, there's a comment on the chat I wanted to sort of put up here and see your thoughts on this. Now, shout out to you. I don't want to mispronounce your name, so I do apologize. But we haven't distinguished ourselves. Now, one thing I was gonna ask was, number one is, how did you find my channel? I wanted to know. Were you searching for me, or did you just come across me? And then have we distinguished ourselves? Because for me, it kind of ties in line, because if we distinguish ourselves, I think we are easily findable. If we don't, this is why I'm saying, do we get lost in the mess of so many podcasts, so many channels, so many this, so many that, because we all look the same and sound the same? So, two-part question, I suppose. How did you find me, and have we distinguished ourselves enough? So, Jesse, how did you find me? Did you look for me, or did you, if you can remember?
I can't, you know, I actually can't remember. I think it might have been through Falcon Blizzak.
Okay.
Because I followed him. I've been following him for years. So it probably is through him, most likely.
Okay. But it wasn't like a search thing. You were looking for a particular type of niche that you weren't being heard or anything like that at all?
No, it wasn't. I think it was through Falcon.
Okay.
Or it was through Instagram. I think someone followed me on Instagram, I'm not 100% sure. And then they introduced me to you or something. I can't remember. I think it was through Falcon, to be honest.
All right, fair enough. Fair play. Meth, what about yourself? Do you remember?
not really. But I know it definitely wasn't a search. I know it was definitely through me either watching King Richard's or someone else. But I feel like it was King Richard's though, because by the time I found your channel, that was where I started finding, or maybe it was KB's channel actually. But I don't know. I just know I found you guys around the same time. So at the time, I just knew King Richards, and then by the time I found you and KB, that's where I started realizing, oh, there's actually other people here. Because for years, I just thought it was just like maybe 4 people who were like because I didn't see you guys. I never saw any of you really like on the panel. The only person I know for a fact that was around for a minute is Jesse, but he had a different name back then, and I remember because I was subscribed to him. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was something, Senate or something like that. But I remember
me. Is it me? You talk about?
Yeah, it's you.
Yeah, I was the center of truth.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I had you. You was like maybe the second or third person that was from here that I found, and that was years ago. So I know you've been on for a minute, and that's because, like, honestly, just because of putting yourself there. Most of the time, if I heard like a British accent, I don't care who the person was, I'd be like, is this person got a channel? I'm gonna check them out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, and this is it, and it goes back to what we're saying about distinguishing ourselves, and it's like you're saying, it's like you had to pretty much either unless you're specifically searching, it was almost like finding a needle in the haystack, and then you're like, oh, okay, here it happens. Zuli, what about yourself? How did you find me? Do you remember?
I mean, I think it was some video about, I don't know. I think it's probably a Falcon Black video, and I think yours came up as a recommended video years ago. So I've been following you for a while now, actually.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking you're probably not going to remember exactly, but yeah, no, that's fair. And this is where, again, back to promotion, distinguishing ourselves, and how we set ourselves apart. Whether we, especially as just content creators, YouTube space, and I'm really bad at this. Now, part of it is down to pulling power. Let's be honest. I'm a threshold less than 1K subscribers, but even still, there are people who are just out there who are just known in certain spaces, even if they don't have a massive pulling power. But a lot of times, I think we don't probably help each other. And I've been trying my best to try and make sure I big up other people, content creators, and try and tag them and try and link and that kind of stuff, just to make sure that people know they're out there. I think Fiona, you said something in the chat about you couldn't find any sort of Black British like women content creators in the same vein like we're here. And I was like, yeah, I agree. There was one lady who unfortunately passed away, Charlene. I don't know if you remember that. But yeah, other than that, it's just like it's just trying to find this has become quite difficult unless it's the big ones. If I say ZZ Mills or something like that, or King Richards or someone really big, it's just like, yeah. Other than that, it's like, yeah. And that's the thing, we're underrated, I think, but we just don't promote ourselves enough. And this is something which I need to take on at least. So yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Oh, actually, I'll let someone else speak.
Oh no, you go, man. You go.
No, it's fine. Just talk.
Yeah, basically, that's the thing. What happens when you don't really establish a unique identity? You see how the Asians, I'm not going to go back to them, but they've got BBC Asian Network. They've already kind of like taken themselves away from the mainstream to do their own stuff. With us, we're like halfway in, halfway out. So how can you have your own, news agents or websites or social events or podcasts or things like that, when the reality is, you're kind of integrated into the mainstream media-wise, you know what I'm saying? So it's hard to really distinguish or separate yourself. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You either go and segregate properly in terms of socially and media-wise, like the Asians, or you assimilate fully and you get just pearly things popping up. You see what I'm saying? And this type of in-between stage, you get what you get, which is not really excelling at both, or get co-opted.
No, I agree on that one. I think that, especially like I'll say from a Caribbean perspective, we have really assimilated to a point where I've talked about this with our customs are pretty much anglicized, our mannerisms, everything. I know we're in a British culture, so don't get me wrong, it will happen to a certain degree, but we've not distinguished ourselves enough to the point of we have our own thing. It's been co-opted. A lot of our things have been co-opted. Now, people may say, oh, there's no problem with that. It's not a problem. It's like, well, this is why we don't have no wealth. This is why we don't have no ownership. And ownership, wealth, and power all comes, they're all part of the same thing. So it's just like, yeah, we've come half and half.
We think quite similarly. We agree. I think in general, some of the time, I feel like your viewpoints are fairly similar to mine. I could be wrong in your acting, but I don't really feel like
Nah, Zuli, you're like my spirit animal. You have that raw thing which I have to be a little more calmer. But yeah, you like my spirit animal. I say that. If that even is a compliment to you, I don't know, but yeah. Let me bring Thomas in. Thomas, how's it going? Big up to yourself.
Oh, what's up, fam? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro. I can hear you. I don't know how much you've caught of it, but feel free to jump in.
What's the topic? Lack of support in Black British YouTube space.
Yeah, but I suppose just as a whole. But yeah, we've gone as a whole. But yeah, lack of support, unity. It's response to, I don't know if you saw KB stream, but it was kind of response to his stream. So
no, I saw his stream. It was very informative.
Yeah,
very nice, very good. Big up, brother KB. Well, I don't see any support in Black British YouTube. I don't see any of it compared to African American counterparts. There's a lot of support there. Like, for example, Fresh and Fit. I was watching their latest live stream. huge support from African Americans. You don't see that here, bro. I don't know why. Maybe there's a penalty when it comes to success. I don't know what's going on, to be honest, because I just think we don't like each other, to be honest.
Well, that's
I think we don't like each other. That's the plain truth, bro. There's so much animosity between Black Brits that, like you talk about just pearly things, yeah. I'm sorry, she shouldn't be there, but she's there because there is no unity between Black Brits. She's like, as much as I don't like just pearly things, you know, because she's a grifter, she's a scammer, she goes against everything she says. She's making money out of us, and we're just allowing her. That's why last live stream we did, bro, I mentioned that the popular Black British YouTubers, they sold out because they want that recognition.
Now, let me sort of play devil's advocate here, and because we talk about the ceiling that exists, business wise, money wise. Now, would you say that they did that because they saw, I've got a ceiling here? Like you said, we don't support each other, we don't like each other, but in order to get that to the next step, they had to make this step in their career. Would you respect them from that viewpoint?
Who?
The content creators you're referring to. So, for example, if you got a message and you want it out there, but you're stuck at an X amount of followers or viewers who aren't, you know, you think you have a good message, but then you go to another platform, you know, will you not argue it's a good business move? Do you not see it that way?
I see
and
where
it's
you're
our
coming
fault
from.
because we've not cultivated the business.
Can
It's
I
our fault we've
interject?
not cultivated the business.
I see where you're coming from. Well, hold on, brother. I see where you're coming from. Yes, because, you know, it's a good business move. They've signed on to a bigger YouTuber, so because they're a smaller YouTuber, they've latched onto a bigger YouTuber to achieve recognition. That's understandable. No, because I'm seeing it for what it is, bro. Like, it is clearly a white woman, a white person. In order for blacks to be successful, you have to go through white people. It's the same thing with the chicken shop lady. like, come on, bro. I'm looking at it for what it is. In order for Black Brits to be successful, you have to go and get the aid of white people.
Can I interject?
Go on.
I wouldn't necessarily say they're sellouts. I think I would say that's the wrong wording. What I will say is they compromise their values, right? And what I mean by that is I don't blame them for doing what they did, right? I don't blame them. This is why I haven't got really any problem with like what they're doing, right? It's their life, they could do whatever, right? But when you have a strong conviction and you have certain values that you stand for, and then you compromise those values for whatever it is that is, in a way, sometimes that makes you look unauthentic, right? Or unauthentic, right? So, like, for example, like I feel they deviated from their values, right? Now, to credit to King Riches, he's kept consistent. It's not like his message has changed, right? Like he's still he's still talking the same stuff that he would do on his channel, right? So I can't really call him a sellout, right? I think that's a bit harsh. Now, Sarah Garvey, on the other hand, is maybe a bit different, right? The guy clearly said that he's a Pan-Africanist, right? He said he's clearly about black people, so on and so forth. You've seen him have debates. You've seen him have debates with Tommy Robertson of all people, right? I watched
Speaker's Corner, right?
Right, at Speaker's Corner, I watched that. He had like a debate between Tommy Robertson. I thought that was pretty interesting, right? And various things of that nature. But when I look at the optics now, I don't see him with that same energy anymore. Like when I last watched his last live stream, right? His live stream is not even a black opinion anymore. It's called
The people's opinion. Yeah.
Right? And I was like, well, last minute I checked, you're black. You're basically a black Pan Africanist, right? And then he have had things about. He was talking about how he had a clan, right? And I don't even see his clan anymore. The only person I've seen out of his so-called clan, right, is Marcus Lovelace, right? And I think he's cool too. A Doink, I don't know where Doink is. He's disappeared off the face of the earth now.
Where's Big Bro?
A great editor, by the way, who I think he's one of the best visual artists I've seen in a while, right? Who are actually out there and seen. So I'm like, in a way, like I just think they just compromise their values, and I'm just like, okay, cool. If they come out and say, hey, look, I've changed like my values over time, like I've got no problem with that. But just be transparent with your audience. You know, in the end of the day, it's the audience that is making them get to where they are. Right now, on the thing regarding like just Pearly things, like again, I don't have no problem with her either. Right. The thing is it's just the optics looks bad on us. I actually look at us more than I actually look at just Pearly things. Right. The fact that you have a whole group, the Black Manosphere, right, basically come around. You have Obsidian Ali, right, come out and say, oh, she's the leader of the Black Manosphere. First, she's a woman. The Black Manosphere was meant to be for black men, right, for basically self-development and improvement, right? You have a woman who is white and is not a man. That is complete contradictory of what the Black Manosphere was meant to stand for. The whole purpose of the Black Manosphere, right, in the US or whatever it was, right, was basically like Angry Man spoke about this, a few others spoke about this, right? They felt, yes, Obsidian said that you could check out the live stream, right? The Black Manosphere basically has claimed her, right, as the so-called leader of the Black Manosphere. I'm not making this up. This is not
brother. Let me interject.
Right, go on.
You're right. You're absolutely right, brother Jesse. What I don't like is just like the Black Manosphere has allowed red-pilled female YouTubers to infiltrate the space, and they've accepted them. Right, this completely contradicts everything that they've said. And they have the audacity to put this plain Jane, this 6'3" leftover, as the next KS.
Right. Okay. Now, like,
bro, bro. I love it. Sorry, go
right. No, bro. I'm being. No, I'm thinking. Hey, brother Zuli, I think I'm more brutal than you, fam. Right. I'm more brutal because I'm sick and tired of these RP guys saying one thing, that women are bad, but they're simping for a painfully average white woman. Like, what is wrong with them?
Right. Now, you know, the other thing as well regarding the Black Manosphere, the whole purpose of the Black Manosphere was at first, the way the Manosphere was first created was it was people of all cultures that came together to basically combat the same cause, right? And basically that was men's rights, or basically MRA, or men's rights activists. Now, what happened was because white people in the US had more influence on that, right? Black men felt that they wasn't being heard. So what happened was there was a separation, and then that's how the Black Manosphere was created, right? There was a group of people. There was a large group of people. I can't remember who they were.
Jesse, sorry. I have to cut in here because it leads to my question. And
go on.
Are we too nice and we're too bothered about what the space should have been as opposed to what it is, which is it makes money, and we're not cold-blooded or ruthless enough to be able to take over a space or make sure we're in a position where we can we're the heads and we make the money from it, because it's just business sense. Are we getting a bit too emotional, and are we not looking at it from an objective standpoint? Are we too nice, as black folks say? Oh, it should be about this. I'm like, yeah, well, we're broke. We're poor. Are we too bothered about being too nicey as opposed to being ruthless and brutal?
Right. My question to this is, the answer was the space was for a certain reason. Right?
That's what I'm saying. Even if it was, though, right now, because it's monetized, anyone can come in at the end of the day, start a YouTube channel, coerce the talking points. They don't have to be real. They don't have to be authentic. It don't matter about any of that kind of stuff. What matters is the output. What matters is the results. It sounds horrible,
Right,
but
money. Would you say money is the results?
I mean, let's be honest. What else is it going to be about? Why wouldn't you argue that the only reason why people are complaining is because blowing up with so many subscribers means they get, again, hate this using this word, more clout, more influence, and therefore it adds up to more pound coins.
Okay.
What would you say?
Well, yeah, but the thing is like you can make money and also spread the message at the same time. Like, for example, how can I really put it? I think we are too nice. I don't feel we are being ruthless enough, right? I don't think that we are protecting our own thing. Like, if you look in contrast to the black manosphere and the white manosphere, it's clear as day. You're not going to see no woman up in 21 studios where Anthony Dream Johnson has his own clique. No one's going to go up there and talk, right? This is the thing I'm talking about. We're not ruthless enough. We're not being protective. Like, in the end of the day, like, we're men. Men are meant to have their purposes. This is why the space has to have a purpose, right? The whole purpose of the Black Manosphere was to basically talk about men rights activists and the thing, and basically self-improvement for black men and the issues of black men, right? Because we wasn't heard in the 1900s, whatever it was, 1960s, whatever. And because the mainstream was basically bashing black men and talking bad on black men, and we didn't really had a voice, right? That was really what the whole purpose of the Black Manosphere was, right? Now, that has changed, right? Yes, we could still make money, right? But we can still not compromise our own values in the process. That's my whole point.
Okay,
right?
that's the point. So you believe that you can do that without compromising your values and morals?
Yes, because I've seen many YouTubers do it. I've seen YouTubers in the US doing it where they're not compromising their own values. And
well, I mean, it depends who you talk about. I hear some things about them and some of the shady BS that goes on.
Oh, I know about the shady stuff. I'm not gonna say any names. I know the shady ones, and I know who the authentic ones.
Okay.
Right. There's one person. I'm not gonna call his name. If you know, there was a debate between a very big gamer, white live streamer, right? Read between the lines, and there was a massive beat, and he basically been exposed. Right. I know about the shady ones, but there is still some authentic YouTubers, in my opinion. Like, I think O'Shea Duke Jackson is one of them, right? I think O'Shea Duke Jackson is an authentic individual that he is basically making money, and he is also still keeping true to what his purpose or his values are.
Who did he say it was? Sorry, who did he say?
O'Shea Duke Jackson.
Okay.
No,
they're doing celebrity gossip.
I was gonna say
no, but the thing was no, wait. He still does talk on black issues. He still does talk. He has done collaborations over the year, because I've been right, and he has still spoken.
I see that as a business move, bro, as opposed to keeping it true to integrity. I don't know. I see that as just pure business move.
But the thing is he had two different YouTube channels. To be fair, he had Celebrity Junk and O'Shea Duke Jackson, two different things. So
he's become like a gossip show as opposed to anyway. But Zula, you want to jump in? So
I mean, there's two US, and I don't really mess with the UK YouTubers, to be honest. I don't really come here for substance besides you and Falcon. At times, you know, you guys are only the two I really roll with. King Richards back in the day before he got compromised, yeah, right. But I was to say, United States, you got a bit of older, wiser men like Dennis Sperling. I like his videos a lot. The lawyer guy, right? He's fantastic. He's a great YouTuber, and you know, his views are more aligned with mine. But he's a lawyer, right? So he doesn't need to come onto YouTube to earn money. So he could be as real as he wants to be. He's a United States lawyer. Right, they got a lot of money. There's other guy called SWP, Sergi Willie Pete. Guy's a medical doctor. He doesn't go on here to earn money. And that's the thing. If you're coming here to earn money, well, I don't blame them for, quote unquote, selling out or doing what it takes to earn money, because you're earning money from it. And this goes back to community and culture. If you have a strong enough community or investment from people that look like you, you could go ham as much as you want. You could build your own platform, say whatever the hell you want, because you've got that economic base behind you. When you don't have it, which we do not have, in order to get any sort of money, really, you're going to have to kowtow, be that kowtow on the job or kowtow on YouTube. Oftentimes, as Thomas says, to people who are Caucasian. And this is the downside of not having a group of people willing to put their money together, as the Jews do, as the Indians do, as the Chinese do, as the English do, as with History Debunked. History Debunked, he's an old man who uses a goddamn iPhone camera, if an iPhone at that, pushes the record button, do get to 100,000 views on all his videos within days. What does that have to say? Why is that? There's those of the white English YouTubers who put no effort whatsoever. They're clocking in 100,000 of views just like that. Comment section bombarded.
Let me tell you about that. One second. Let me tell you about that guy as well. Isn't it amazing though that all his content seems to be about us as a people, and yet, and still, it's just like he continues with it. This is what I mean about being ruthless. If that content gets him the most amount of views, every single live, every single video, every single thing, it's like we're inferior, ethnicity and IQ differences. All this, it's like, bruh. And this is what I mean about ruthlessness. It's like he understands. I think Falcon did a post on this, or someone commented on a Falcon post. I might have to get it wrong. He understands the niche. He understands his market group. He understands what they want to do, and he is pounding it every single day, even the same things all the time. And bruh, he's blowed up.
That's what I've been saying, bro. Like, black men, we don't want respect. We want acceptance. We want to be liked. Where's the ruthless aggression? Where's the eye of the tiger? We don't want that because we want people to like us all the time. Fuck being liked, man. I don't care if you don't like me, but you all respect me. I don't care. Black men, we just put this is the black manosphere, bro. I don't roll with them anymore. This is why I support SYSBM and the Passport Bros, because we have the manosphere's down, but no one fucks with SYSBM or Passport Bros because I'm on their spaces and we're ruthless as hell. We know our mission, bro. You know that, brother Wim.
No, that's a good point you raised. Do we know our mission? Because obviously you said that they have. I think that's what I don't roll with SYSBM because sometimes they say, but they have a mission. Bros. They have a tenant. They have. What's our mission as people? What is our mission? Is it just to be here, just to just to make up the numbers? Because I said this at the top of my live stream. I think we're kind of afraid to stand out sometimes. Where if we do, we have pushback. Oh, you should be quiet. I mean, it's that British reservedness. I think where you can't stand too out, and you have to, or you get chopped down. So I think that's part of the reason why we don't we don't have a mission statement, or we don't have a mission because we're afraid.
The thing is, bro, like, SYSBM on Passport Bros, we have a clear mission, right? We don't allow any red pill female YouTuber to come in. We know, because we know they're grifters, and they're trying to distract us. So we tell them to fuck off, basically, get out of here. You're not wanted here, and we carry on because we don't want them. We want foreign women. We want to have traditional families and upscale ourselves, right? The black British YouTube space clearly doesn't have a mission. They're all over the place. We're not as ruthless as our African American brothers, like Fresh and Fit, like Donovan Sharp, who clearly do not tolerate any nonsense. Like, I'm sorry, bro, but
I say Donovan Sharp again. I don't. Go ahead. I have to
sorry,
disagree
bro.
with you,
I got something to say about that.
Oh, okay. Let me use Fresh and Fit. Fresh and Fit. You go on it. You see those live streams. They tolerate no bullshit. Myron says, if you disrespect either him or Fresh, fuck off. All right, because that's how they are. They don't tolerate any BS from these modern Jezebels, right? They clearly have a mission statement and they stick with it. But I don't see that with UK black Brits, bro.
I mean, the thing is, though, is that, first of all, everyone keeps saying, UK black Brits. I mean, how many really are there, though? Like, we're talking as if there's, a whole, there's a bunch of us that's all doing this content, and there's a show, there's not even anywhere near the same numbers. That's the first thing. So this is why I was so shocked to even find anyone that had, a UK accent, because it's there's actually people like that. And I've said this before, but this, there's certain things that in America is more of their problem than our problem. So that's one thing. And because of that, you're going to find a little bit more difficulty trying to transplant all those talking points over here and build an audience, like without getting Americans on board. You're not going to be getting some like these mad big numbers or mad support in the same way from people here. In fact, when I used to watch people like King Richards and stuff, I would usually say, I don't know if it's still the same now, but I know before, when he was getting support, there were people from here supporting him, but there was a lot of Americans supporting him. Especially, I mean, that's how I found his channel, was because of American YouTubers. So to a certain extent, like, I think maybe more than worrying about, oh, you know, we don't have anything, it's like we maybe we don't, but I think maybe part of the issue of that is that we're not really, where's the, like, is there a ton of content really? There is some, and there is some, but I mean, like, is there, like, we're acting like as if we've got these massive podcasts, everyone's doing all this stuff, like, we're not even really doing a lot of the things in the first place to get pushed, in my opinion.
I agree.
Now, is that, well, I'll say this, but again, I have to go to it's the popular ones, isn't it, that we can name off. I think, are we talking about these type of small channels, like where you can just drop on this hop on a stream, as opposed to talking about like a Trend Central or Link Up TV or things like that, where you have like proper trying to think of the names, Craig Mitch, Lin May, you have Dominic Samuels, you have, are they more right wing, you have ZZ Mills, I forgot that other person's name, you know, chunks of it, or are you talking about just like these type of channels, or because there are big ones out there, but
no, but because look at the people.
Free shots.
Well, I mean,
them kind of peoples.
Well, I mean, let's look at the people that we're talking about when we're using the American channels.
Yeah,
you guys are basically mostly talking about either channels that are red pill type of channels, or manosphere, which manosphere is usually the same thing, but, you know, channels that either came from the manosphere and grew, like what happened with Kevin Samuels, or you got people who, like Fresh and Fit, who kind of dipped into the manosphere, kind of used that to build their numbers up, and then just, you know, breezed off, right? But it's like, like, if that's what we're talking about, what I'm trying to say is, comparatively, where is that anyway? I mean, outside
of King Richards,
I don't really see it. I don't really see it outside of King Richards, who's been doing that really since I've ever found his channel. I don't see, like, where's the heat? Because I remember when I would get on these streams, or when I would just go on panels, whatever, you know, like, I would have a similar type of mentality or similar type of energy towards it as a lot of the Americans would. But I find that I don't think that's very commonplace over here. You know, so it's like, it's not really, we don't really have the energy over here to even maintain that. Even if you did have even I went and watched one of King Richards' clips today, because I don't usually watch his channel, but I watched it today. I found it kind of entertaining, but I was thinking, this is not Fresh and Fit. Even if you're thinking like, oh, the setup, you know, you've got some goals on there, this is not that, you know, ratchet, explosive, like, it's not that. You know, it's going to be harder to make that blow in the same type of way, or to make that grow or take off the same type of way, because there's not the explosiveness that show has. And that's part of what my point is that even if, but it's still the best effort I think I've seen over here to do something like that.
What's the, but lads, what's the point? Like, what is the point of having platforms like that? What good would it do in terms of long-term thinking and long-term establishment? What good would having channels like Fresh and Fit in the UK do, besides making a few people money? Like, besides that, what benefit does that do?
I don't know, but that's the channels. That's the channels you guys are talking about.
For me, I couldn't give a damn if you had a Fresh and Fit Black British like in the UK, because I know it would be co-opted, I know it would be infiltrated, I know it would be compromised, I know they can't say anything too real or hardcore, or, you know, more like what I say sometimes in the show, because they'll be A, cancelled, or B, not given money. So I know that's not the case.
But if anything, that's really what the purpose of this discussion is to say, like, well, why is that the case here then? Because it's clearly not the case.
I'll say what is. This is not America. This is Europe. This is obviously a very class-based society. This country is, I would say, quite racist as well. There is definitely an undercurrent of people who don't like blacks, and history debunk know this. And any fool here who disagrees and thinks that UK doesn't have racism or we're well liked, I suggest you go on History Debunk's comment section, have a stiff drink, and read through it, and hear what people think about us behind closed doors anonymously. And then you begin to realize that most of the UK, I would say, don't like foreigners, and by extension, don't like blacks either. Okay, that's what I say. I think the two most hated groups are probably Muslims and blacks. I would say that's just my opinion, but this is what I believe. I think these two groups. Huh?
It looks like it's time for me to take to go and live in Trinidad or Grenada then.
So that's what I'm trying to say is like, you know, that it's never going to happen and it will not change. And you in the workplace, and you see today, if you're too confident and you're black, you're going to get put down real quick. Even if you're white, you're going to get put down real quick, you know, and it is what it is and it will not change. Okay, I want people to recognize this. This is why I'm so glum about the UK. Please tell me, how will it change? And if so, how will it change? And how feasible the things that you suggest are for it to change? Because I don't see it.
It's not going to change.
Well, this is where, for me, I was talking about promotion and how I think the reason why that's the case is because we probably don't see it in our face enough to make you think that there is a potential, that there is a change. There's more of a reason to be more optimistic, not for everything, but for certain things, because I don't think we put ourselves out there. Now, forget the manosphere. I mean, again, this is where I think we don't have to create the same space like they do. We don't have to have the same type of people like they do. We don't have to have our equivalent of this. Forget that noise. I think just in general, though, I think we just don't put ourselves out there enough, where even when I type in on the search, and even when I look at certain content creators, I'm trying to narrow in, it's like outside of the favorites, like I'm trying to find, and I can't really find anything. But I think unless we don't put ourselves out there for certain things, we don't see the good things that we do. We don't see the positive things that we do. We don't see the things that we probably don't think is out there until you really, really search for it. Like I was searching for, this is kind of not unrelated, but part of my work's like data analytics and things like that. And I was like, oh, okay, what are people doing in it? And then there's a massive thing called BID, Black in Data. It's like, okay, they're doing this, headed by black women, but it is what it is. It's like, until I search for it, really search, I don't see these things. So I don't know. I think we just lack a lot of promotion for a lot of things.
Yeah, that's really what it is. It's just a lack of promotion in whatever it is you're doing. So, I mean, the simple fact of the matter is that when you go outside of talking about like this type of content, there's black people or British people or whatever that are big doing all kinds of things. I mean, who's the biggest black YouTuber on this platform anyway? It's not an American.
KSI.
Right.
Biggest YouTuber.
Well, I'm talking YouTube. Black, not if you're going into just general, going to white, then obviously, yeah, you got bigger, but even then it's like, it's kind of crazy how that works. Now, if KSI's thing was when you jumped on here, I'm just going to appeal to black British people. I mean, you know, I don't know where he'd be at right now, but you know, that just goes to show you, it's I said it earlier, if you've got that ability to transcend and not be limited by the boundaries of I'm just in this one area or just this one thing, then you'll grow more. Now, on the flip side, niching down does work, but you've got to understand, like, when you're in a certain niche, what the ceiling is, because some niches don't bring in as much as others. That's just the simple truth. And if you're in a market that's already quite small, like you're trying to appeal to people from here, and then you're trying to appeal to a smaller subgroup, and then if everyone's sitting up here saying there's no support, there's none of this, then you have to understand that when you're appealing to that type of group, you may find support lacking then.
But let me say this though. Let me slightly push back. Did you think the space over in the US would have blown like it had blown, where it's doing what it's doing now in terms of numbers?
What do you mean? Would it have blown with?
For example, it's still a niche over there in the US. Obviously, it's a bigger niche because it's a bigger market. But let's be honest, no one would have expected like Kevin Samuels to have blown like he did. No one expected that. Let's be honest. Most of the content creators in that space outside of O'Shea have less than probably 50K subs. The men probably less than 10K subs. You see what I mean? So, did you even expect?
But they can have less than that, and they can still be making a lot of money though.
Some of them, if they really have the right engagement. But let's be honest, most of them won't. Most of these are.
Yeah, but that's most people in any field anywhere in the world. Most people in general in any lane are not going to do very well. It's always going to be a small percentage of people who actually are successful at something. But
what I mean is, though, it's just, are you undershooting or underselling the fact of we don't know until it happens, and I didn't realize that. You know what I mean? That's all I'm kind of saying. Are we setting our ceiling ourselves because we're not? Again,
I think what you're more saying is, could we potentially do it? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah,
because I don't think it's currently happening.
Yeah, because again, I use DZ Mo's example. It just comes off my head. I don't think she'd have thought she would have got to where she got to. She has a show on Channel 4 talk about unapologetically black. You see what I mean?
I mean, to me personally, that's not that shocking. But I think, that's the thing, though. It's like, well, okay, like there's people who've gotten their own shows here in the UK and they're doing their own little thing because they appeal to the UK in a certain way, right? Like here we have a certain type of culture. I mean, we've been kind of talking about it. And if you're good at appealing to that, you'll do fine. But there's certain things that an American version of ZZ Mills will talk about that ZZ Mills probably wouldn't talk about or wouldn't talk about in the same way because of how things are over here, if that makes any sense.
Though. That's completely fine. That's what I want to happen. That's fine.
Right. But what I'm saying is when you're starting out, like if you're looking at that thinking, I'm gonna do that, there's not because the market isn't as big, there's not as much space to have multiple versions of that, is what I'm trying to say. So you might think I want to do the same thing, cool, but there's less space because we already got it filled by 1 or 2 people, if you get what I'm saying, because the market's just smaller. So there's less opportunities for other people to do the same type of thing. So when you're saying that there's, someone like KS who's big, even in America, there can't be like that many KSs. Can't be that many. There's only going to be a certain number of people who are able to reach that type of level.
Oh,
but
yeah,
if it's
actually,
yeah, but it's kind of, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but a big part of the issue is that we don't really know because it's not, like I said already, we have to see people actually trying to push for it in that type of way. And I'm not talking about necessarily just like the type of content, because that's why I brought up those channels like Red Pill Mess, because that's what was mostly being discussed here. But I don't know when you guys are talking about we don't support each other as like YouTubers, that to me it seems to be more what you're talking about. But I don't really know like if you're just limiting it to that, or if you're just saying in general, just across all media, or what. Because if that was true, then the ZZ Mills wouldn't exist, then would it? So there must be some kind of support.
Me and Tom could do a Fit and Fit podcast, man. I think, if it wasn't for the fact we'd be cancelled, I think me and Tom, man, it'd be great if we had like a Fresh and Fit podcast.
Oh my
It'd be
goodness,
brutal, man. It'd be so popular.
I would destroy every single modern Western woman. I'll be fucking ruthless, man.
I know, man. Like, I know.
Do you know? I think that'd be hilarious, bro. I think that'd be hilarious.
They might have to. I'll be cancelled in a week, bro. Further than podcast talking about just women in general, man.
But the thing is, though, this is where I mean with it. It's the pessimism. It's like, oh, this will never happen. And the thing is, again, let's use hip hop as an example. I'm guaranteed old hip hop heads had no idea how big it could have been or how big it has gotten until they didn't just, push through it. Now we can talk about markets and everything, but everything is small relative to the place that you're in. And I'm just like, they didn't expect it to be what it is, let's say 30 years into the future. We can argue about how good or bad it is, but you see what I mean when I say you don't know who is going to latch on until you don't put it out there. It's like me, I don't know who's listening. And let's be honest, I'm not naive to think that all people who watch me, listen to me, are people who are Black and British. That's not true. But you never know who's going to latch on, who's going to rate you until you don't put this stuff out. That's all I'm kind of really putting into you're getting out of it. It's like, don't think that because you have a niche topic that other people won't latch onto it or it won't expand and then your niche won't expand out. You see what I'm saying?
No, it can, but you have to be realistic, because part of the issue is when people start and they don't see immediate results, they stop. And then what you're talking about won't happen. So you kind of got to, on some level, temper your expectations. Like, you shouldn't, I mean, it's one or the other. Either be delusionally of the belief that you're going to succeed no matter what, because that will keep you going, or temper your expectations. But I think that most people see something grow big and think they'll do the same thing like really quickly or something, And the problem is that sometimes people do succeed quite fast, especially nowadays. I mean, you guys were talking about Just Pearly things. She just came about. I mean, if we're being honest. And
exactly. And look what niche she's in. And this is what I'm trying to say. Look at niche she's in. It's like she's in the UK. She's got UK man them, UK gal them on the show. And look at what's happened. You see what I mean?
But to me though, she's got the transcendental thing I'm talking about, because she's not from here. See, it'd be more impressive if she was from here and did the same thing. But the fact she's not means she already has an appeal to a larger market. She's talking about things that larger market has already been talking about. Like, let me put it like this. Anyone who's come after Kevin Samuels, it's not this, like, to me, it's not the same, because once he blew up, all of those tournaments, once Fresh and Fit blew up, once even Andrew Tate, once these people took off, they made a lot of these things mainstream that weren't mainstream before. So the people who came before them, it's a lot. It was a lot harder for them to grow. And anyone who's come after has seen the example. Oh, okay, this is how it works. Do this type of thing. Do this type of model. Fresh and Fit. There's so many people who basically tried to copy Fresh and Fit's model, and some are having some success with it, some aren't. But they have seen that model, and now there's an example of what to do. If you get what I'm saying. So it's easy to try and do something afterwards once you've seen other people already blow up with it. But before that stuff happened, people were just trying to figure it out.
No, I agree with you, and this is what I'm saying. I think all I'm hearing a little bit is like, oh, you know, so much roadblocks, but like, you know what, other people had to figure it out to get to where they got to. It's just, what can I say? And then, unfortunately, you're right. You get people come after the fact who don't put nearly enough time, nearly enough effort, but have a good business plan. And this is where I'm like, are we ruthless enough? And they managed to, you know, leap and bounds over certain people who are still stuck in the trenches, so to speak.
You know, I'm just going to be honest. To me, any woman who comes up here and was going to say these things was always going to grow faster. It's always that's just how it is. I mean, like, because you're doing something that most people don't like. You're doing something that's shocking, I guess you could say, right? So it's like if you've got, I mean, like, if there was a female version of Fresh and Fit where there was chicks just sitting up there just cussing out other women about not being traditional or something, you know, that there's no way that's not going to appeal to a large number of men, because they're going to be like, yeah, you tell them, yeah. And then any girl who disagrees with them, they just look, see, she's saying it. It's just like another example of this is like when you've got a black person who speaks out against like things like Black Lives Matter. That's going to usually get a lot of attention, because it's like, wait, a black person's going against this? That's crazy. Everyone who feels that way is glad that you're saying it, because it affirms what they're saying, and it also is you're doing something that they feel like they can't do.
If I say the IQ thing, man, I'll probably get so many views if I just went up there, put my face, put my job title, and said history debunked. I agree with the following thing. I'll get slammed,
right? Like, yeah, like exactly.
A black version
of that channel. Especially, and here's the thing, you could do that and probably not even have that great production and still get numbers just because of the controversy of it. But if your production was on point as well, man, come on, man. It's not like, if you're being a controversial type of person, you're always going to grow faster. Controversy sells. That's been known for a long time. And so does sex. So when you mix the both of them, what do you think is going to happen?
But let me ask you this, Brother Wim. Do you think, in order for a black British YouTuber to be successful, do you think they have to be controversial? Like, just speak the truth.
Depends what space you're in. For the most part, you have to be, nowadays, it's again, I said it's because of social media, TikTok and all that other kind of stuff, it's an egotistical, narcissist, clout chasing. So you have to be either so controversial, so loud, so eccentric, something like that that gives you that edge. That people like Andrew Tate blew up because of how, because he's I think he's like British or he's born in the UK, but Andrew Tate
he's British American. He both him and his brothers. I don't know why. Maybe I think his brother was. They're both Romanian, but I think his brother was born and raised here in the UK, whereas Andrew himself, he's part British, but I think he was mostly raised in the States.
Yeah. His accent sounds a bit muddled. But here's what I'll say. I'll say this. To a certain extent, yes, but that may not be necessarily the best thing, because just because you're known doesn't mean it's in a good way. So with other things, it's not necessarily the best thing. There are channels out there which have, I don't know, 100,000 subscribers who aren't as controversial, and you have no idea who they are. Have you heard of her? She's a woman, Patience Tina. I can't even pronounce her name right.
Patience Zena.
Yeah, that's the one, Patience Zena. And she has a channel which she talks about just a couple of topics. She isn't loud, she's aggressive. She's damn near on 100K views. And she's, how many videos she's done? 10 videos, apparently. I don't know if that's all true.
Wait, how's that possible?
Because
let me just share the screen and I'll show you. What I'm trying to say is there are different ways, and I'm not saying it has to be controversial. I think her topics seem a little bit, this one, Patience Zena. And
it is controversial, though. It is. Well, her channel is controversial. Look at the titles of her videos and look at the fact that
if you actually watch her content, it ain't
I know this shit.
Screaming and shouting and I think that's what you mean, Thomas, isn't it? When you said about controversial, because I have titles which are a bit like, you know, sometimes can be a bit crazy, but I don't, you know, say a lot of crazy stuff. You see what I mean? But it works for her.
No, but there's a difference between being obnoxious and being controversial.
No, brother.
Well, they fall part of the same tree, in my opinion. I don't know. They seem to be part of the same thing.
Hold on, bro. When I mean controversial, I don't mean having a loud, egotistical attitude. I'm talking about you're just speaking the truth, and you're getting so much hate. You're being professional about it, but you're just saying the truth. That's it.
I don't know. I see some channels which maybe I can't. I don't think so, Thomas. I don't think that's necessarily the key to it. I think what's happened is because of Kevin Samuels and his uniqueness, people have assumed that's the way to do it. That's what I think. Because of his success, a lot of people as well have seen that. I'm trying to think of other people who are not even talk about red pill, just controversial, which have that kind of success. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything.
Mine's not fresh and fit, because they're too
loud.
Exactly. Okay, so all right, I'll give you an example. So you could use someone like there's a guy called Young Ripper, right? That guy, right? He don't talk about none of this stuff. He's talking about comics. He's talking about the comic industry. Every video is controversial. Got nothing to do with this dating. Nothing to do with that. He's married to a black woman. Got nothing to do with none of that stuff. But just about comics. Okay, so he's big because he's controversial, but in a lot of ways, him being black plays into why he has grown so well. And he's to me personally, I think he's very
conservative views.
Yeah.
What about like Brandon Tatum? Is he another example? He's not like Young Ripper in that sort of sense, but like
even Candace Owens.
Oh God, don't even start on there as well.
Basically, the pattern is if you're black and conservative, you're controversial. So
yes, by default you are. You're right.
Yeah, but a lot of them do go into like a lot of white supremacist talking points, which feeds into that narrative. What I think it shield a lot of people to say some things which are real disrespectful. Some of the views,
but like you just said about the ruthlessness, though, that's what they're doing.
No,
it may be seen as disrespect, but maybe that's the problem. Is the fear of treading on toes is why you don't push anything. American people in general don't like. There's a lot more of them who don't care, and that's why they'll get further. And the thing is, and I've done my best to rationalize this because it's hard. Because in a lot of ways, again, I hear what you're saying, and I have those sensibilities as well. But you realize those people don't like. The biggest fear I have is just being someone who's talented or whatever and doesn't really make use of it the way that I could. And if the main reason I'm not going to do it is because some people might get offended, I mean. Let's be honest, you can be the nicest person, try doing things nice, and you can still get hate. There's people who make videos that ain't got nothing to do with controversy, they still get hate comments and dislikes. Doesn't matter how nice or sweet or politically correct you try to be. There's going to be people who don't like you. So the way I see it is you might as well just be real about it. Do what you actually feel. And not everyone wants to be obnoxious and disrespectful. So if that's not your style, you don't have to do that. But in terms of what you was asking, Thomas, truth be told, the people who are willing to do that are going to usually grow faster. That's just the reality of it.
Well, and you know what, you're all right though, and this leads me to the point about you're right, and this is where I'm like, I've played it too safe because a lot of the channels, a lot of the videos which get me the most pull are ones where I've either picked a side, which a lot of times goes against like a lot of black people, if I'll be honest with you. But you're right, I think we're not ruthless enough, and screw it, just play to a side and be so to a side where you got no balance and say, screw it, I'm not gonna play safe anymore. So you're probably right.
I've watched so many YouTubers, like even if you're going to talk manosphere, I've watched the guys who try and be fair and balanced, and I see how it's like, they will literally, you can judge it just off of video to video. You can just look at the titles, right? You got a video where they're talking about, are men messed up in this way? Are men not putting in enough effort? Why men need to do better? Low numbers. They start talking about why these women ain't this and higher numbers, right? It's like at the end of the day, it's quite clear. You can see what the responsiveness is. Like we were saying, even with KS, you can see the difference, right? If you go to really any YouTuber's page, right, any single channel, usually the more controversy there is, the bigger, the higher the numbers are going to be. Look at this is why like YouTube apology videos are entire meme. Any YouTuber, even big ones that have got nothing to do with any stuff, just vloggers, people who travel, whatever, their apology video is the one you're probably going to see if you've never heard of them before, if they have one. Because that's where everyone, what were they talking about? Or what did they do wrong? It's drama. That's just human nature. It's the reason tabloids are always clickbaiting.
You're right, bro. You absolutely remember when Logan Paul went to Japan and he went to Suicide Forest?
How do most people find him? It's the Suicide Forest video. That's what a lot of people found. But look at him, he's still sitting there making his money. Even if everyone in the world was trying to say he was messed up for this and blah, 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 they still tuned in. They're still tuning in now.
That's why
bro.
That's why I said, bro. You know, black men, they want to be accepted rather than respected.
But is it just a case of some of us are just trying to be more real and authentic? Because let's be honest, a lot of these people aren't like this in real life. All these people who act like this, it's just a persona. And do you know when that happens, you call fake? Because it's true, it's a fake persona. So I think a lot of it is I think we're a lot more real and gritty than over there where they're so fake. Everything's so fake.
Yeah,
fake. War on this is so fake. A lot of things that happen is so fake. It's all just a massive dramatized version to get people's amped up fears, and it's all just fake.
Can I interject?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you finished talking, or?
Well, yeah. What I'm saying is it's a lot of fakeness. But again, if that's what makes the money, then I suppose I'm the one who's stupid. I suppose they're smart, I'm stupid. Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, like regarding the fakeness, like my opinion is, right, like I think, we are more, I think in my opinion, we're more authentic, right? And I'll say we're a lot more, and I said this previously, we're a lot more civilized, right? You don't see us going on a mad one on a live panel as much as you see like how the US people go. Right. The only beefing I've really seen is like Backchat London. Right. That's where things just go nuclear over there. That's the only place I've really seen it. Right. And I will say that, like, I just think that some of the, like, again, you know, there's one live stream you could watch, right? Is a YouTuber in America called the Duke and Don channel, where he basically exposes like the manosphere space of like the fakesters and so on and so forth. He did a great live stream on Just Pearly Things with the Hafiz and the Just Pearly Things thing. And I just think a lot of these like women who come into these spaces, I don't think they're authentic, because the reason why I say this is because why would you bat against the other side when it is so you've basically got it made in a Western society? Like, why would you take that away? It's like the equivalent of, like, if you know football, like, you know how you got PSG, right? And they're always winning the French league. Right. That's like the equivalent of what women are. Like they've got it so good, right, that they're basically winning the league every year. Right. And it's like, why would you want to get rid of that if things are so good, like so good at that moment? Right. So I just think, like, that's how I feel. Right. I could be wrong, but I just feel like some of them have got it made. Like, why would you go against other women? It doesn't make sense. Right.
It doesn't.
And another thing,
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, and I'm sure you know.
Let me finish as well. Is what I find very strange with some of these panels or these like these channels is, why is it that it's all like all the talking points is against the woman, when in my opinion I think the man also has a part to play in some of the problems as well, right? Because if you notice some of these live streams, it's always woman this, woman that, woman this, woman that. But what about what also the men are doing? Like, we also have part to play in the problems that is going on between like relationships in the Western society. For example, simping is a big one, you know. But you don't see this on these spaces. And I've always spoke about this. It's like, in the end of the day, is it helpful, or is it just grifting and entertainment, or just feel good doctrine so it can get the views, the subscribers, and the watch time so people keep watching? Is it really helping men? Because in the end of the day, when men come off these panels and go into the real life, they still have to deal with these same problems, right? And those talking points if those talking points are that advice isn't true and it doesn't apply to the real world, right, you're gonna have problem. You're basically, those channels are not helping. It's basically feel good doctrine. And I'm finished.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, bro. That's why I have issues with these RP female YouTubers, because they're saying everything that men want to hear, not what they need to hear. Like just Pearly Things, for example. She always, this is these modern Western women from the UK, and I'm like, you're a grifter. Like you want to get into the good books of black men. Why aren't you saying what black men need to hear? How about embrace their traditional masculinity, upskill themselves, get more money, just self-improve? But she never says that. I never see this. Always her, modern Western women are Jezebels, they're Liliths, they're Delilah from the Bible, they're this and that, and men are just applauding her.
I mean, is this surprising to any of you guys though that that's happened? Like, does that shock you?
No, it doesn't shock me because she's using all the talking points that manosphere YouTubers have already said. She's saying the talking points that passport bros have used. Because she's a female and because they're simps, that's why she's getting a lot of recognition.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, at this point, I've lost any type of ideals I had for that space to be better than that. Like, it was clear years ago that that's just the path I was going to go down. There's not much like, that's just what it is. Because the questions you was asking, why don't you tell men this? Because you said that's what they need to hear, but the reality is that's not what they want to hear. It's what they'd rather hear is what they're getting. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just most people though. That's just most people in general. So it is what it is. Like, the majority of people want to just be told things that's going to make them feel good and that's going to make them happy. And you're dealing with a lot of guys who are disillusioned. So having a woman sit up there and tell them, no, it's not you, you're not an issue. And listen, there's a lot of truth in those things, and that's what makes it problematic, is the fact that a lot of the talking points have got a lot of truth in them. But then there's things that get exaggerated, or there's things that get distorted, or things that are overblown or outdated. And because the talking points still sell, no one cares to update it or change it around or make it more balanced. Why would you do that? Like I was just saying, the more controversial you are, the more you're going into extreme topics, the more of those things you're going to do better. And I think a big part of the issue is people misunderstood what a lot of people came onto these platforms for in the first place. You believed when they came on here and told you, I'm here for the betterment of this and that and blah, blah, blah. That was never what the mission was. The mission for the majority of them was always to get something. I mean, maybe initially it was just to vent. But once they started realizing the venting can bring them money, I mean, it's like anything. It's like the person who goes into politics with this intention of, I'm going to make things better, and then they get corrupted, right? That's just what it is. Power in general, when people start to grow and have more influence, or when they start seeing that, I can make money when I do this, it influences them. And like I just said, if you're looking at your YouTube channel and you see when I drop a video going in on women, I get 20, 30,000, 40,000 views. When I drop a video going on men, I get 2, 4, 3,000 views. I mean, what is going to be your incentive to keep going in on men? That's a losing strategy. Let's just be honest. The only reason you do it is because you have some strong morals and integrity. But the question you've got to ask yourselves is, what matters more to you? Is it your integrity to that specific message, or is it the fact that you want money? I don't think a lot of these people had the integrity they sell us on, or that we sell ourselves on them having, if that makes sense. I think most people just want to make money and be successful and live well. And if they can achieve that, whatever it means, they'll keep doing whatever it takes to get that. And we have to stop.
I think the case is, like most things, you have like an underground scene, which is always more authentic. But when that underground artist blows up and becomes mainstream, they always seem to sell out because their message becomes watered down. Like a rap artist will have to have the lyrics to be watered down. They'll probably have to collab with a nice R&B artist or a pop artist to really get the album to go more mainstream. You always have to go, if you're too far right or too far left, to appeal to the wider audience, you have to go center. Like in politics, you appeal to your far right base, and then once you get a little bit on, you go to the center. Same with the left. You appeal to the far left, then you go more center, because otherwise you're going to miss out on a lot of people supporting. And you're right. Someone said there's no nobility in poverty, even though we make it seem like, once, we're keeping it real, but truth be told, is because you're probably not blown up yet, you're broke. So you can have morals and integrity once you've got no money, but once money's on the line, then a lot of that stuff goes out the window. And I think that's what it is with a lot of these movements. Once monetization came in, once we understood the algorithm once you understand what drove the views, and we understand exactly how much you can make of it, bets off. There is no integrity. Clicks, favoritism, I'm going to throw you under the bus, everything. So
personally, I don't think integrity exists in the first place. I think it's just you ain't got nothing, so that's all you've got to cling to. If that, what else do you have? So you're going to say, well, the reason I ain't got X amount is because I have integrity. So what happens when you do start blowing up? Now what?
Exactly.
And then you realize, oh, well, actually, wait, like there's YouTubers I watch who say, oh, the reason I'm blown is because YouTube's suppressing me. Okay, so how about when you did, this video about a celebrity or this video about black women or whatever, and then you got more views? How come, like, why wasn't you being suppressed then? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not about those things. It's just that your strategy is incorrect. And rather than taking responsibility for that, you want to blame something else or say something else is messed up or wrong. It's just that, no, you're not doing what you need to do. And the thing is what we're kind of talking about here, sometimes what you need to do, if you do have integrity and values, like the main thing you just said a minute ago, White Matters, you were talking about here in the UK where we don't want to, where you were saying we're more authentic. That is exactly what it is. Like, there's a lot of this kind of Hollywood complex thing in America where everyone wants their 5 seconds of fame. I'm not saying literally every American's like that, because there's plenty of them who want, but there's way, way more of them who are like that than there are people over here like that. And it makes it worse that those things are, you could say, relatively on their doorstep. You can travel to LA or Cali or NYC and try to get to certain things. Even a lot of the things that I was interested in, the biggest place, like the easiest ways to get into certain things was to go to America and to network. You know what I mean? But it's like when you're 15 or 16 years old and you're looking at it, it's like, I can't do that right now. So you just got to try and figure it out. Whereas if I was just lived over there, it'd be a lot easier, right? So there's things like that where you're going to feel more like you've got access. But what you realize real quick maybe is, oh, in order for me to make use of this, I got to play the game, I got to act fake. I guess the main thing I would really just say, because I know you're probably going to end the stream soon, but the main thing I would just really think about for myself is, like, do the ends justify the means to you? Because if you manage to become successful, a lot of the things we're saying, you might be able to change those things. Like, if you play the game well enough and you get to a certain position, maybe now you can make it easier for the next person so that they don't have to do that. You get what I mean? If you actually maintain that when you get to your position, that's the thing. Like, if you actually grow and you get to a certain level and you maintain that mentality, you know what I mean? Then that might be something you can do. It's like sometimes you've got to kind of masquerade and seem like you're part of the flock and just be a wolf in sheep's clothing.
No, I hear, and to be fair, that's a great note to end up on. And kind of my last final question to the gang then. I know, Jesse, you're doing your channel, and I suppose then, does the ends justify the means? I mean, let's be honest. Who would you rather be? Kanye West, with all his supposed problems, with all the money that he has, doing all that dysfunction, messiness, or would you rather be somebody who's, what's the word, keeping it authentic? So does the ends justify the means for you? Are you looking to, it all depends on your strategy and what you're trying to do, but Jesse, the end of the stream then, does the ends justify the means in your view?
Right, so for me, my answer would be I would rather be authentic. I don't like compromising my values. I think as a man, you're meant to have your values, you're meant to have your purpose. And to be honest, when you stray around that, that's where you start corrupting yourself. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My whole computer just froze. Basically, yeah, I don't like compromising my values, right? You gotta like what you're doing, and basically it's important to have a structure in life, values, morals and integrity, because I think that's not enough in life, and so I would rather pick that. And that's just me though. That's all I got to say.
No, I hear you, bro. And yeah, I definitely want to see what happens when you go over when you get monetized, and I definitely want to see. I want to come back to this because things change once.
I've been monetized before, bro. Like I've had many YouTube channels. I've been monetized. I've never changed. I've been consistent. You could ask Falcon Business. You could ask many people. I've always been consistent.
Yo, listen, I respect it. That's one of the things which I've been trying to do, and anyway. Let me go to Thomas. Thomas, question to you, bro. Does the end justify the means? Doesn't matter about how you do it. It just matters about the end result. What do you say to that?
I'd rather be authentic, bro. Like brother Jesse. Like I wanna be like Kanye, where you you're just saying the truth, saying opinions that people are are comfortable towards. Like I'll keep it coded, but still give up the truth. I'd honestly, bro. If I had a YouTube channel, bro, I'm just gonna be authentic and keep it coded. Just make sure that I'm doing my duty to speak the truth, no matter what.
No, man, I respect it. I respect it. And to be fair, your authenticity actually could be your selling point based on how brutal you are. So that actually might be in your best benefit, to be fair. So no, I respect it. I do. Myth, last question to you. I know you've kind of sort of answered this, but let me ask it again. Does the ends justify the means in terms of what you do?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out the answer to that, but I know for me, I can't not be myself. I can't do it. I can't. Even if I logically can understand the advantage in the faking acting, I can't do it. And I also wouldn't respect myself even if I reached that position through being like that, you know. And I've learned that matters to me more. So
even sleeping in a nice bed, nice house, does that not ease the pain?
Well. The thing is, I know you can get that without having to even touch YouTube or do any kind of. So that's not a problem. You can do that perfectly fine.
But not in YouTube, no myth. Not in YouTube. Just real life, because this is real life people are fake. Real life people.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Here's the thing: if you take the conversation away from YouTube, you definitely don't need to set up. I mean, like, because I think part of what makes it just harder to grow on YouTube and social media is that so much of it's driven by algorithms and stuff like that. I mean, in the real world, it doesn't really work like that. So if you're really proficient at doing something, you can make a lot of money, live comfortably, and no one will ever know who you are. And you don't need to rely on any clout or anything, any type of exposure or promotion. You don't need none of that. So in the actual real world, there's way more. It sounds weird saying that. If we're talking about social media versus the internet, like just the internet in general, there's too many options. But I'm talking about like specifically when we're thinking about creation, like content, because that's a lot of what we're talking about media. I think in that type of arena, it's a lot harder to grow without doing that. That's why for as long as I've been alive, all I've ever heard is other, celebrities talk about how this one sold out and this one's fake now, and oh, they were good in their first album and now they sold out and they're more, it's like everyone seems to be saying that. One thing I will just say though, just to make as a point, is everyone's values is different. And I base someone's, like, you can never know what's really in someone's head or heart. So I base the authenticity of a person based on what they have been telling people, right? And the problem is it could be a lie, but I don't know anything more than that, So if someone's telling me they're for something and then they are pushing that, and then when they get money, suddenly they're not for it anymore, or things are changing, or they're not doing what they was doing before, then yeah, I would say that's them not being authentic and selling out. But let's say someone's, like, for one person, their mission is just to make money. If they will do anything to get money, they're being very authentic then, because their entire thing has always been to get money. You know what I mean? So whether you have integrity or not, it just depends on what your values are and what the values are that you've shared with people. I think the issue is with a lot of the stuff we're talking about, people use these moral arguments and try to seem like they're being these really helpful Samaritans and blah, 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 when in reality, they don't care about people like that. And the thing is, that's fine, but that's just a hustle. People have done that for hundreds, if not thousands of years. That's just what it is. Like, there's always going to be people who take advantage of people's insecurities and whatever else to make money. You know what I mean? You could argue that's what the entire cosmetic industry is. And I mean, how much is that worth? You could argue that's what romance films and all of that kind of, like, there's entire genres and industries built off of these ideas. So I can't really say anything. But when we sit up here and we talk about wealth and we talk about other groups, one thing I will say is I think they believe the ends justify the means. If you look at the countries we're in right now and how they got the power they've got, they certainly believe the ends justify the means. So I'm still trying to figure out for myself, but I can tell you that that mentality generally is the one that wins in this world.
No, man, I hear you, bro. I hear you, bro. And it's always, yeah. And even me, I have sort of in my head viewpoints of like, how should I go? Should I stay true to myself? And if it's not working, then is that even the best strategy? And I get it. Ultimately, you want to retain your integrity. I believe that's huge in a man. I think integrity is one of the huge qualities that all men should strive for. Now, you're right, Myth. If that means to some other people that's different values, like if you're here to make money, then you are keeping to yourself. But yeah, based on what I hear, a lot of virtue signaling then I hear from a lot of men that talk about it's about this, it's about that, it's about this, it's about that. So yeah, interesting.
Bro, can I say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
The thing is, yeah, why I value integrity more than money is because when you're fake and you're just doing it for the peace, people will catch you. They'll look through you like, this guy, he's not real. All he's doing is just getting, he wants money. That's it. But when you're like integral, right? People respect you. You know what you're talking about. When people challenge you, you have all the answers to their questions. That's how you garner support. That's why I'd rather be authentic rather than fake.
No, I hear you, bro. But I'll say this, and this is the whole social media age. A lot of times, yeah, I've seen this where people have contradicted themselves, but because they have bigger clout, bigger subscriber base, it don't matter. They've been caught in a lie, they'll still keep going. They've done this, they'll still keep going. They get exposed for doing this, they'll still keep going, and people still rock with them because whatever they provide, fake or not, it's entertainment to them. And it's like at the end of the day, a lot of people talk about it, but maybe it's just the people, isn't it? And maybe it's just their values and how they see things. But I don't know. I hear what you're saying. But sometimes I see things, I'm like, are the people really into people who are have integrity? Are they into it? Or are they into just as long as the talking point is there, I don't care what you do? You see what I mean? So I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to shut down the stream. Thank you all for joining. Any last thoughts that you wanted to say anything before I'd shut the stream down? I know Thomas is gone, but Myth, Jesse, any last thoughts at all?
I don't really have anything. So all I'll say is thank you for joining the chat and for letting me join the panel and so on and so forth. So yeah.
Awesome. I know. Thanks, Jesse. And yeah, looking forward to your next live stream. Is it tomorrow?
Yes, we're regarding what is a high value man with Kevin Samuels.
Cool. So people in the chat, check out Jesse's channel. You're a mod, you can post your link in the channel if you want to. So post your link to your channel, Jesse.
Oh, I'm a mod now. I didn't even know.
I think.
I don't think you made me a mod.
Have I not? Okay, I'll sort that out. So but what I'll do then, let me go to your channel and then I'll post your.
Because my channel's growing now. I've unlocked I've already gone up to 1,000 views already, and I have a new feature. I can now finally use the community tab, so I'm pretty happy with that.
I don't know. That's weird though, because they've just given out. I got it, and I've not made any videos for a long time. I don't know what, and I don't even have 100 subscribers. I don't know. Like I've got another channel where I had to get to 1,000 before they gave me community. Yeah. Then they loaded it to 500, and now they've just. I don't know what's going on. Like it's like they're just giving it out for free.
Yeah, they changed the rules. It used to be you had to have a certain subscriber or watch time because that's how I unlocked it, and then now it's different. They always change a lot of things, don't they, when it comes down to their rules. Even like now, when it comes to monetization, even some of the channels, some of the videos, they will put ads on it. I don't get any of the AdSense revenue or anything, but they can, for YouTubers that don't qualify to meet their monetization standards, they can still put ads on certain videos and they can recoup the money. So it's like, yeah, I see how they play it. They're not missing a trick these days. So
yeah,
because obviously some videos will get replay value, but your channel hasn't got the either watch time or subscribers to get over that line. But they're like, yeah, well, we'll still claim the so it's like we ain't missing anything.
So good old Google, man.
Hey, listen, what can I say? They ain't missing.
And justify the means.
Absolutely. So yeah, but yeah. Thanks for joining the stream. Thanks to everyone who joined. Zulia, Thomas, thanks for joining. Thank you everyone on the stream. Hope you have a great week ahead. Please make sure you like the stream, share the stream, subscribe if you're new, especially listen on to the playback. And yeah, we'll hopefully have another stream in the week. If not, it'll be the same time on Sunday next week. But until next time, thanks everyone. Take it easy.
Peace.